Chapter 846. A black shadow rushed over. Before Ning Shu could react, a thread was wrapped around her neck. The black shadow tightened its grip around the tough thread from behind. Ning Shu's hands gripped the silk thread tightly. The silk thread dug into her knuckles and sunk deep into her flesh. Ning Shu felt that the bones in her hands were about to be broken by the silk thread. It was excruciating. No matter how painful it was, Ning Shu didn't dare to let go. If she did, her neck would suffer the same pain as Mei Ziqing, who was lying on the ground. Half of her neck had been severed by the thread. The two bodies were tightly pressed together. She could even feel the hot breath of the person behind her. The smell of fragrant wood mixed with the biting cold wind entered her nostrils. Cough, cough. Ning Shu coughed and said with difficulty, "Zhang Jiasan, it must be you." The hand holding the thread paused for a moment, then increased its strength. The thread dug deeper into her flesh, and blood dripped onto the ground. The approaching death made Ning Shu's hair stand on end. She was terrified and in despair. Ning Shu's face turned red. She raised her leg to step on the person behind her, but a kick landed on her calf. She immediately felt a piercing pain. She had only been in this world for a day. There was no time to practice ultimate martial arts. In one day, 3 people had died. There was no time to rest. She was now at a disadvantage. She didn't even have the chance to fight back. From beginning to end, the person behind her didn't say a word. However, Ning Shu clearly felt that it was a man. First, it was because of his strength. Second, the angle of his neck. If he was taller than her, the thread would be pulled up slightly. The sound of a window opening suddenly sounded. Ning Shu turned to look at the second floor with bloodshot eyes. There was a weak light in the room. A black shadow stood by the window. Ning Shu coughed violently. The person behind her didn't run away immediately. Instead, he increased his strength and tightened his grip. The thread dug deeper into his palm. The uncle pulled out a gun from his waist and fired a shot behind Ning Shu. With a plop, the person behind Ning Shu fell to the ground. His body twitched twice before he stopped breathing. Ning Shu immediately fell onto the snowy ground, but before she could rejoice, a voice entered her soul. No matter what grudges you have, if you start an internal conflict during this mission, you will all be eliminated. Ning Shu watched helplessly as the man fired a shot at her with the black gun barrel. Her body seemed to be fixed in place by some kind of force. She didn't even have the strength to move. A soundless force entered her glabella. Ning Shu suddenly felt a huge force explode in her soul, wanting to annihilate her soul. The power of the amulet protected Ning Shu. The pain in his soul made Ning Shu sweat profusely. When he woke up, his soul was still in pain. Sweating profusely, Ning Shu shivered as the cold wind blew. She got up from the ground and flipped over the man's body. It was indeed Zhang Jiasan. Damn it, Ning Shu was so aggrieved that she almost cried. She was almost killed, and now she was killed again. If it wasn't for the upgraded version of the amulet, she would have to wait for everyone to die this time and restart the plot again. The feeling of being killed scared Ning Shu so much that she peed her pants. She was completely annihilated. Despair and pain. Zhang Jiasan, this bastard who harmed others without benefiting himself. Ning Shu kicked Zhang Jiasan's body on the ground and ran into the central room weakly. The fire in the brazier in the central room had already been extinguished. Ning Shu sat on the bench and placed her hands on the table. Her hands were dripping with blood. A silk thread had sunk into her flesh. Scarlet flesh flew everywhere. Ning Shu carefully took out the silk thread. This silk thread was very thin but very tough. Where did Zhang Jiasan come from? If Zhang Jiasan possessed the original owner of this body, then this person was also a suspect. Zhang Jiasan used the silk thread to deal with her. She knew that Zhang Jiasan would definitely take revenge on her. She wanted to fish in troubled waters and kill her. Ning Shu took out the silk thread. Blood flowed out. Fortunately, she had exchanged for medicine before entering the mission. Ning Shu sprinkled the medicine powder on the wound and wrapped it with gauze. However, both of her hands were injured, so it was very inconvenient to wrap the gauze. The door of the room next to the central room opened. Lan walked out using the wall. Her nose twitched. You're injured. Ning Shu grunted. Lan reached out and sat down at the table. How did you get injured? Were you alone? Ning Shu saw that Lan was staring at one place. Her eyes were not focused. She was clearly talking to him, but she was looking in another direction. There's another one dead. Ning Shu looked at Lan's expression. Lan just pursed her lips. Her reaction was very calm. Ning Shu could not help but ask, "You're not afraid?" Lan shook her head. I can't see, I can't feel. I can't see the beautiful things, and I'm also isolated from the scary things. I know someone died, but I don't feel afraid, Lan said honestly. Ning Shu did not know what to say. Lan could not see and did not even know how many people there were. She did not feel anything if 1 or 2 people were missing. However, several people in her family had died. She was not afraid. Ning Shu took the anti-inflammatory medicine. He was afraid that it would be tetanus. Lan asked Ning Shu, "Are you seriously injured?" "It's okay. I won't die," Ning Shu said indifferently. "Grandma said that you guys should leave tomorrow. She said that you guys have provoked evil spirits. They won't stop until you die. We will also be implicated," Lan said. Ning Shu pursed his lips and did not speak. The cold wind outside the house blew even more fiercely. The cold wind blew through the cracks in the door and into the house. It was bone-chilling. Ning Shu saw that Lan was not wearing much and said, "Go to sleep. It's very cold." "Thank you." Lan stood up and reached out her hand to feel around. "Didn't you go to the hospital to have your eyes checked?" Ning Shu asked aloud. Lan touched the wall and said, "We don't have money at home." Ning Shu looked at the table made of yellow pear wood. This thing was worth a lot. This was not the origin of yellow pear wood. Moreover, these few pieces of yellow pear wood were put together to form a table. It was probably a tree that was over 100 years old. This pair of grandmother and granddaughter were really problematic. Selling this table would be enough for them to go to the hospital. Ning Shu changed his medicine twice. It was very cold in the living room. Mei Ziqing was dead and there was no one around to talk to. Ning Shu took 2 stools and put them together. He sat cross-legged on the stools and began to practice his ultimate martial arts. If she had a little bit of resistance, she would not have been choked by Zhang Jiasen. It was important to have the ability to protect herself. The uncle killed people mercilessly with a gun and did not even listen to an explanation. She did not have the strength. If he had enough strength, he would not bother to listen to an ant's explanation. Chapter 847. Ning Shu finally understood what Mei Ziqing meant when he said that first-generation mission enforcers had the right to kill ordinary mission enforcers. If she was strong enough, if that perverted uncle wanted to kill her, she would have to kill him first. Without power, there would be no dignity or right to speak. Only the strong would be respected. After a night of cultivation, a small amount of qi gene appeared in her energy center. Her body was much warmer, and her hands and feet were much more comfortable. The wound that was tied by the silk thread was also itchy and red. Ning Shu took a few anti-inflammatory pills to prevent fever and inflammation. The uncle and 795 came downstairs. Ning Shu saw the uncle and quickly lowered her head. She could only see his slender legs and the slightly floating corner of his windbreaker. Step by step, he walked down the stairs. It was as if he was stepping on her heart, making it difficult for her to bear. She was afraid of this person. Ning Shu took a deep breath and chanted the clear heart mantra in her heart, suppressing the negative emotions in her heart. One day she would become strong, and one day she would take her revenge and kill him once and for all. Ning Shu fantasized for a while. Damn, 2 more people died in one night. And they were mission enforcers? 795 shrugged. This mission is simply bullshit. Ning Shu was speechless. If it wasn't for the upgraded version of the amulet, 3 people would have died. Damn, it would take a lot of merit to exchange for an upgraded version of the amulet. Ning Shu's heart was stuffed to the brim. She was about to cry again as she spoke. Wipe the stool. Ning Shu waved his hand. Ning Shu smiled and raised his messy hand. My hand is lame. Damn, you just killed her once, and now you're asking her to do things again. Do you have any shame? Don't you feel guilty? 795 thought for a while. She used her butt to move a few times on the stool. She stood up and said to the uncle, "I've wiped it. You can sit." The uncle glanced at him. He didn't sit on the chair he had just sat on. Instead, he sat on the chair next to him. How did 696 and 6,457 die? 795 asked. It was extremely safe to be in the same room as boss. 795 directly fell asleep. What happened last night? This guy doesn't know anything. Ning Shu glanced at the uncle and said, 696 was killed by 6457. To be precise, it was Zhang Jiasen who wanted to kill her. Mei Ziqing was too anxious and was accidentally killed. Ning Shu could feel that Mei Ziqing was very anxious. He was probably in a hurry to catch the culprit and end this mission so that he could gain merit and become a high-level mission enforcer. It was easy to make mistakes when he was anxious. 795 raised his eyebrows. Did you kill 6,457? Ning Shu shook his head. He glanced at the indifferent uncle and said, "Was he killed?" 795 couldn't help but glance at the uncle. He pulled Ning Shu out of the house and asked, "What's going on?" Ning Shu told 795 the whole story. 795 couldn't help but shake his head. He should have been killed. Didn't he know what kind of mission this is? This plane is about to become a super plane. If the laws really collapse, it will be an unimaginable disaster. Hundreds of millions of creatures in this plane will die directly. The plane fragments and the law fragments will cause damage to the surrounding planes. All planes are connected. Otherwise, why would there be so many transmigrators? Everything is for the sake of the mission. I hate that bitch 496 so much, but she didn't do anything. Grudges can be settled after completing the mission. 795 shook his head. Especially, 795 glanced at the room and whispered, "With the first-generation mission enforcers here, we have to be careful. They are the ones who set the rules." Ning Shu couldn't help but sigh. Zhang Jiasen's level was too low. He was a beginner mission enforcer and didn't know much about the higher-ups. That was why he was so impulsive. He wanted revenge too much. 795 patted Ning Shu's shoulder. "Take it slow. It's good that 6,457 isn't here. You don't have to be wary of him." "Thank you." Ning Shu thanked him. "Are the first-generation mission enforcers very strong? Don't they use other people's bodies?" Ning Shu asked. "They only need to suppress their power to the minimum and directly enter the plane," 795 said. "I also want to appear in my handsome original body." Ning Shu, "My mouth ulcer is serious." 795 pouted, "Give me some saliva." Ning Shu turned and entered the room. When he saw the uncle with his long legs crossed, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Damn, the uncle now was so scary. Where did the cute school doctor who only knew how to dissect people with a scalpel and not kill people with a gun go? Dong dong dong. A series of hurried footsteps sounded on the stairs. For 96 Lu Shanshan said to the uncle, "Two girls are dead." The uncle stood up and walked upstairs with his long legs. Ning Shu also hurried to follow. When he entered the room, he saw two girls tied up with their backs facing each other. Wooden sticks in the shape of shuttles were inserted from their mouths to the back of their heads. Their heads were like a stick of candied haws. The wooden sticks pierced their heads from their mouths. Their mouths were opened to the maximum and their eyes bulged. The sharp wooden sticks at both ends were stained with blood and brain matter. Ning Shu's pupils constricted. So cruel. Why did they have to kill people like this? Ning Shu felt a chill run down his spine. Was it a perverted killer who pursued the pleasure of killing people? What kind of deep hatred did they have to kill people in such a way? The uncle's face was cold and his body was cold. He wore gloves and checked the situation around him. He looked at the other two girls huddled in the corner of the Kong and asked, "What happened last night?" The two girls were already in a trance from fear. When they heard the uncle's voice, their bodies convulsed and they said in horror, No, I don't know. I don't know anything." One of the girls hugged her head. Her eyes were red and she actually cried nervously, we will all die, ha." While she was crying, a nervous smile appeared on her face. She was scared out of her wits. Plop. The club's president, Fan Junyong, knelt on the ground. His face was full of panic and despair. He desperately knocked his head on the floor, which was dripping with blood. How could this be? How could this be? Fan Junyong muttered to himself. How could this happen? The uncle tightly pursed his lips and coldly said, "Take the bodies away." Ning Shu checked the scene. Did the people in the room commit the crime, or did they come in from outside? The uncle lifted his foot and walked to the Kong. He knocked on the wall and the Kong with his hand to see if there were any hidden mechanisms or tunnels. There was no movement at all when they died. Every time they died, it was silent. When people felt pain, they would struggle and scream. But she was awake the whole night and did not hear any sound. If it was done by a human, there would definitely be traces. People were killed when they were unconscious or when they could not feel pain. Was it because they were drugged or injected with anesthetic? Chapter 848. Ning Shu suspected that the person who was killed while unconscious. Moreover, the people in the same room as her did not feel anything. Perhaps the people in the same room were all asleep. Ning Shu twitched his nose but did not smell anything in the room. He looked around and found a pile of fine dust at the foot of the wall behind the door. Someone had lit incense in the room. Ning Shu dipped a bit of dust on her finger and sniffed it, but there was no smell at all. There was really no smell at all. The uncle walked over and squatted beside Ning Shu, looking at the incense. Hidden incense, the uncle said lightly. Ning Shu was surprised. Ning Shu had heard of hidden incense before. This type of incense had no smell at all. Hidden meant that it was hidden and there was no smell at all. However, this incense had a strong calming effect. Legend had it that when Hua Tuo was scraping Guan Yu's bones, he lit the hidden incense. Guan Yu did not feel any pain at all. When the bones were scraped, he could drink wine, eat meat, chat and play chess. Everyone in the room was dead asleep, but the person who was killed was completely unaware. Ning Shu walked to the two girls huddled in the corner of the Kong bed. He reached out and pinched the girl's arm. The girl did not seem to feel any pain. He did not find this in the room earlier. It must have been cleaned. Hidden incense was very rare. The workmanship was complicated and it belonged to the type that had lost its secret recipe. There was no such thing on the market. Rare things were definitely expensive, ridiculously expensive. How could such a thing appear in such a place? 749 came to Ning Shu's side and said, "In this group of people, other than the dead Pan Chin, Fan Junyong's family is the richest." Ning Shu looked at Fan Junyong, whose face was covered in blood. He sat on the ground dispiritedly and leaned against the wall. All signs pointed to Fan Junyong as the most suspicious. The uncle stood up. Ning Shu said, "Take the bodies down." "My hand is crippled." Ning Shu raised his hand. "I'll do it," 749 said. 749 was very strong. He carried the corpses down the stairs. The uncle said to Fan Junyong, "Gather everyone in the central room." "All right." Fan Junyong struggled to stand up, but he had kowtowed too hard and felt dizzy. He went to call for help. Ning Shu followed the uncle down to the central room. In the central room, the old woman looked at the corpses in the courtyard and muttered about their sins. "Can you leave this place? What did you provoke?" The old woman asked in a panic. "Please leave, I beg you. I don't want your money, and I don't want your lodging fee." The old woman leaned on her crutches, looking panicked and scared, a sharp contrast with Lan behind her. Lan's face was a little blank because she couldn't see. Even though she knew that someone had died, she couldn't see how the person died. Lan was the only one in the group who was truly fearless. Fan Junyong called for everyone to come down. The central room was filled with people. Everyone was trembling in fear. There was also a girl who was scared out of her wits. She was giggling. Her laughter made people's hair stand on end, especially when they were so nervous and scared. "Teacher, what should we do?" Fan Junyong said desperately. He shouted, "I can't take it anymore." The uncle looked indifferent. "Then what do you want? Do you want to leave?" "I'd rather leave than stay in this place. There are ghosts here. I can't take it anymore." Fan Junyong's voice changed. His fingers couldn't help but tremble. It's you who touched something and brought it here. You even said that there are ghosts here. The old woman leaned on her crutches, looking angry. Lan pulled the old woman's clothes and said, "Grandma, it's snowing outside. How do you want them to leave? These people died in our house. How can this be? Do we still want people to live in this house?" The old woman's voice rose. The room was silent. Only the sound of breathing could be heard. Some girls cried silently, but they didn't dare to run. They wanted to leave, but when they thought of Lin Xia, who ran out. She didn't come back for the whole night. She was probably dead. Many people placed their gazes on the tall, upright, and calm middle-aged man, their eyes filled with anticipation. Lu Shanshan asked the uncle, "Teacher, do you know who the murderer is?" "I think Fan Junyang is the most suspicious," Lu Shanshan said. 749 immediately said, "I said you're still suspicious. You have to have evidence first." "Are you a man? You're as petty as a woman." Lu Shanshan looked at him with disgust. She then turned to look at the uncle. 749 pursed his lips. "You take the opportunity to get close to a man. Disgusting." Lu Shanshan looked at 749 with a murderous look. But when she thought about how the uncle was still beside her, she suppressed it. She turned her head and didn't look at the annoying 749. "I didn't kill anyone. I have no reason to kill anyone. I'm the president of the Chinese Arts Society. If something happens to the members, I have the biggest responsibility." Fan Junyang was so anxious that his face turned red. The blood on his face had already dried. The other members looked at Fan Junyang with vigilance. Some of them even stayed away from him. Fan Junyang's face was full of bitterness. Ning Shu and the other mission enforcers stood at the side and didn't say anything. The most important task now was to survive. The 32 members of the Chinese Arts Society were all dead. Ning Shu looked at the old lady and Lan. He tried to recall the plot. The members were all dead. What about the two of them? There weren't many plots for the two of them. Moreover, the plot had already been reincarnated countless times. The plot had already changed beyond recognition. Ning Shu couldn't help but scratch his head. What should he do if he caught the murderer? Kill the murderer? The mission this time was to stop the endless reincarnation. But how? They had been looking for the murderer since the beginning. But they couldn't find the murderer. Instead, more and more people died. The murderer appeared and disappeared mysteriously. Ning Shu felt that this pair of grandmother and granddaughter were the most suspicious. What about the motive? Could it be that killing people was fun? Ning Shu put himself in their shoes. A group of people stayed in his house. Why would he want to kill them all? For money? If it was really this pair of grandmother and granddaughter, they had the yellow pear tree. If the Tibetan incense was also theirs, it meant that they didn't lack money. Too bored? They wanted to play a killing game with these people. Guess who I am? Revenge? Among these people, there were enemies of this pair of grandmother and granddaughter, but they killed everyone. Could it be that they were afraid of being discovered? So they killed everyone. Ning Shu's mind was in a mess. Logic didn't make sense. The uncle pointed at the crazy and scared girl and said, "Don't pretend to be crazy. You killed the two girls." Everyone looked at the crazy girl in a daze. The girl was still giggling. Lu Man, the people she killed, everyone immediately moved away from her. The crazy look on Lu Man's face could no longer be maintained. The uncle said impatiently, "Tie her up. Take turns watching." Chapter 849. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't kill them, Lu Man explained anxiously. If you didn't kill anyone, why are you acting crazy? Lu Shanshan sneered. You're just giving yourself away. Lu Man bit her lip and swore, I really didn't kill anyone. I didn't. Because you're pregnant, the uncle said indifferently. Lu Man's eyes widened and she reflexively covered her stomach. The others looked at Lu Man strangely. Lu Man's face was red. I'm not pregnant. I'm not. As Lu Man spoke, she beat her stomach with her hand to prove that she wasn't pregnant. However, after beating it twice, her face became very pale and she didn't dare to beat it again. Ning Shu looked at Lu Man. Mei Ziqing had said that a girl was pregnant. So it was her. Mei Ziqing could see souls. Could the uncle also see that there was an extra soul in Lu Manman's body? Ning Shu immediately understood. He was a first-generation mission enforcer and could definitely see it. Why did you kill them? And in such a cruel way? Fan Junyang asked in shock. Lu Manman bit her lip and said, "They whispered that I was pregnant." Ning Shu pursed his lips and directly used the stick to pierce their mouths. Ning Shu asked, "Where did you get the hidden incense?" "What hidden incense?" "I don't know." Lu Manman shook her head with tears streaming down her face. Her face was full of regret. Ning Shu looked at the uncle. The uncle's face was indifferent. "Tie them up and take turns watching." "Did you kill the others?" Lu Shanshan asked. Lu Manman was tied up. She shook her head and said, "I only killed 2. "You really?" Ning Shu was speechless. Lu Manman stared at Ning Shu. "What do you know?" "I was raped. A man raped me." Lu Manman broke down and shouted. Ning Shu pursed his lips and apologized. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." However, she was raped by a man and became pregnant. Because of this, she had to kill the person who gossiped. He was in such a sorry state that he even loathed himself and wanted to kill him. However, this matter was still unsolved. Who lit the incense and who killed the people in front of them? Is the man who raped you in the team? Ning Shu asked. Lu Manman's hands and feet were tied. She sat on the ground with her head lowered. Her body trembled and tears fell to the ground. She didn't seem to hear Ning Shu's words and didn't make a sound. Ning Shu said, "Let's untie her. With so many people watching, she can't do anything." "You're so disgusting. You're like a white lotus. Do you sympathize with her? She killed people for her own selfish desires. What's there to sympathize with?" Lu Shanshan said disdainfully. She looked at Ning Shu with disdain. Ning Shu was speechless. Well, she was a white lotus. A pregnant woman sitting on the cold ground. Even if she was going to be executed, she would wait for the child to be born. Do you think everyone is as cold and heartless as you? She didn't kill you. Why are you so indignant? If you were raped, you would do the same. 795 suddenly choked. No, even if a man raped you, you would be very happy. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, what kind of deep hatred did she have to use such words to attack someone? Lu Shanshan was so angry that her whole body trembled. She pointed at 795 and said fiercely, "I won't let you go. See, I only said a few words and you're like this." 749 shrugged his shoulders. "Do you want to kill me for your own selfish desires? You?" Lu Shanshan was so angry that her eyes were red. "Teacher, let's just tie her up." The members said one after another, "We're all from the same club and we're all familiar with each other. How could she do this? She's too cruel." Lu Manman still had her head lowered and didn't say a word. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He would never know what it was like if it didn't happen to him. Lu Manman was thrown alone in a corner. No one dared to get close to her. She curled her legs and knocked her forehead on her knees. People who passed by her would take a detour, forming a vacuum around her. The central room was quiet. The cold wind was blowing outside, and the heavy atmosphere was pressing down on everyone's hearts. So what if they caught the murderer of the 2 girls? They couldn't leave at all. It was easy to get lost in the vast expanse of white. The snow had already covered their calves. It was as if there was an inexplicable force preventing them from leaving. The murders had been happening in this house in a cycle. "Old lady, please prepare some food for us," Fan Junyang said tiredly. The old lady supported herself with her walking stick and said impatiently and anxiously, "Can't you all leave my house? Each of you has a murderous aura." "Grandma, it's snowing so heavily now." "Let's wait," Lan said. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked, "Lan, you can see the snow?" Lan shook her head. "I can hear it. Rain and snow have sounds." "Then did you hear anything upstairs last night?" Ning Shu asked. Lan said, "There are footsteps. There are footsteps every night. It's the sound of you getting up and walking around." Ning Shu saw that he couldn't get anything out of her, so he shut up. The old lady took her granddaughter to prepare breakfast. 3 meals a day were black flour steamed buns and porridge. When the old lady served rice, she was the first to serve it to Fan Junyang. She even scooped it dry. Just as Lu Shanshan said, there was something fishy going on. Ning Shu felt his head hurt badly. He felt that everyone was a murderer. There was no progress at all. Ning Shu turned to look at the uncle. His eyebrows were cold and he couldn't tell what he was thinking. He was holding a scalpel that was shining with a silver light in his hand, which looked particularly terrifying. "What's the matter?" The uncle turned to look at Ning Shu. When he met the uncle's eyes, Ning Shu immediately cowered. He remembered the feeling of being killed. He shook his head and said, "Nothing. Do you want to eat a steamed bun?" Ning Shu handed him a black flour steamed bun. Ning Shu did it on purpose. This kind of steamed bun looked black and dirty. Ning Shu felt that he wouldn't eat it. Starve to death. "Instructor, eat mine." Lu Shanshan took a steamed bun and handed it to the uncle. Faced with this situation, Ning Shu retracted his hand and put the steamed bun in his mouth. This super mission enforcer was obviously doing this to the uncle. He didn't want to join in the fun. The uncle took out a bottle of water from somewhere. He looked at the black flour steamed bun with disdain. "I'm not hungry." Lu Shanshan's face turned red. She didn't know if it was because she was embarrassed or embarrassed. TSK 795 started to act up again. "Don't other people have hands? Why do you have to take it?" Lu Shanshan looked calm and glanced at 795 indifferently. 795 straightened her face and pointed at Lu Shanshan. "If I die, it will be you who killed me." Ning Shu. Chapter 850. He didn't know what grudges there were between 795 and Lu Shanshan. No matter what Lu Shanshan said, 795 immediately objected and insisted on going against her. Ning Shu felt that 795 must have a crush on Lu Shanshan and wanted to use a unique way to attract her attention. Lu Shanshan was the most beautiful woman Ning Shu had ever seen. Her temperament and appearance were top-notch. Especially her ancient clothes, which made her look otherworldly. She didn't look like the bitch 795 was talking about at all. There was nothing wrong with liking someone, but 795's way of doing things had angered Lu Shanshan. Not to mention liking her, she might even want to destroy her. Ning Shu looked at 795,795, who was eating a black steamed bun, with an inexplicable gaze. Seeing Ning Shu's gaze, she asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Ning Shu said, "If you like someone, work hard and earn a lot of money. When she gets married, you can contribute more money." 795. "What are you talking about?" 795 was confused. Ning Shu smacked his lips and understood. Ning Shu ate a steamed bun and saw Lu Man, who was squatting in the corner with her head lowered. Ning Shu took a steamed bun and walked over. He said, "Eat something." Lu Man still had her head lowered and ignored Ning Shu. Ning Shu put the steamed bun in a bowl and placed it beside her. He sat beside Lu Man and asked, "Did you kill both of them?" A pregnant girl tied two other girls together and killed them with a wooden stick. "How did you think of using such a method?" Ning Shu asked. Lu Man buried her head. Her body was trembling slightly, and her voice was nasal. "I hate them for whispering and saying such nasty things. I really want to cut their tongues." "Who raped you?" Ning Shu asked softly. Lu Man did not say anything. "Where did you get your wooden stick? Moreover, it was sharpened. If you wanted to kill someone, you would have such a tool." Their hearts were dug out by claws, their heads were skewered by wooden sticks, and their eyes were pierced by writing brushes. "It's in the shed next to the kitchen," Lu Man said without raising her head. Ning Shu stood up and walked out of the central room. He stepped on the thick snow and arrived at the shed next to the kitchen. It was a very simple shed with some firewood inside. On the side, there was a pile of wooden sticks that were half the height of a person. The wooden sticks were about half the size of a fist, and they were all sharpened. Lu Man took the weapon from here. Ning Shu walked slowly to the central room. When he passed by the kitchen, he saw Lan sitting in front of the stove. Ning Shu thought for a moment, then walked into the kitchen and asked Lan, "What's the use of the sharpened wooden sticks next to it?" Lan said, They're used to make fences. Grandma said that when the snow melts, we'll plant vegetables in the yard. Those wooden sticks were sharpened by Grandma. They're sharpened so that they can be used as stakes. Ning Shu pursed his lips. This explanation was very logical. Lu Man saw this thing and used it as a weapon. Ning Shu turned and walked out of the kitchen. From the corner of his eye, he saw Lan, who was bending over to pick up the firewood, wearing a red rope around her neck. It seemed to be something to ward off evil spirits, such as a jade pendant or talisman paper. It probably never left her body. The red rope was a little black. Is there anything else? Lan asked with empty eyes. Ning Shu asked with some surprise, You knew I was looking at you? Lan said, My eyes can't see, but my other senses are much more sensitive. Besides, you've been staring at me. I can feel it. Even if I eat steamed buns every day, there are no vegetables. Can you make some vegetable soup? I'm constipated. Ning Shu touched his stomach. It's so swollen. In a northern area like this, there should be cellars to store some potatoes and sweet potatoes. Ning Shu wanted to find a reason to go to the cellar. Lan shook her head. Grandma is old and I can't see. The vegetables I planted aren't enough to eat in winter. Is that so? There's no vegetables in the cellar now? Ning Shu asked. Lan shook her head. Actually, there's not much food at home. Grandma has always wanted you to leave. First, there's evil spirit on you. Second, there's not much food at home. If you don't leave, we'll starve to death. We can't leave in this weather, Ning Shu said. Why don't we eat once a day from now on? Lan smiled, but her eyes were empty. Coupled with her smile, it seemed a little creepy. Ning Shu left the kitchen and returned to the living room. Uncle Ning Shu waved. Come here. Ning Shu felt uncomfortable. He slowly moved over. Instructor, what's the matter? You're not dead, Uncle said. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, what's wrong with him? It's one thing to kill someone, but he's deliberately provoking me. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. He didn't know how to answer him. Remember, as a mission enforcer, you have to know what's important in order to go far. Endless life comes with a price. Uncle pointed at the chair next to him. So, Ning Shu sat down. His hair stood on end. He could feel the uncle's cold aura through his clothes. Thank you, instructor. I understand, Ning Shu said sincerely. Fuck, Ning Shu really wanted to beat his chest. He was so sullen. He had been killed and he still had to thank him. Uncle glanced at Ning Shu. He crossed his long legs and tilted his neck slightly. His neck moved a little. Ning Shu heard it and felt a little creepy. Are you afraid of me? Uncle turned to look at Ning Shu. Ning Shu faked a laugh. I'm not afraid. Ning Shu straightened his back and put his hands on his knees. He was so fucking afraid of death. The person next to him was in control of other people's fates. He had only killed him once last night. I'm just asking you if you're scared. Are you scared? Anyway, Ning Shu was afraid of death. Screams came from upstairs. Ning Shu quickly stood up. Something must have happened again. Ning Shu quickly went upstairs. 795 ran down the stairs and bumped into Ning Shu. Ning Shu fell to the ground. Aya, can you watch where you're going? 795 pulled Ning Shu up and said anxiously to Uncle, he died again. This time, it's even more disgusting. Uncle stood up and went upstairs with his long legs. Ning Shu hurried upstairs and saw a room full of people. Some girls were even supporting themselves against the wall and vomiting. Ning Shu squeezed into the room and saw a corpse hanging upside down in the room. The lower half of the body was naked, and both legs were tied up with ropes. The palm-wide saw went from the crotch to the abdomen. It was as if the person was going to be cut in half. The buttocks were already separated, and the saw had already reached the navel. What was more terrifying was that this person seemed to be conscious. Because he was hanging upside down, there was enough blood to provide oxygen to his head. In his conscious state, he could clearly feel the saw in his body. Chapter 851. Looking at such a dead person, Ning Shu felt as if a huge hammer had hammered on her heart, making her dizzy. Ning Shu's stomach churned and she wanted to vomit, especially when there was a bloody smell in the room mixed with the filth in the intestines. It was extremely disgusting. It challenged her psychological endurance again and again. The uncle looked at the body coldly and turned to leave. It seemed that he did not intend to do an autopsy. He was really not a qualified autopsy officer. Besides, the body was cut open and it was the same. Ning Shu covered her nose and walked into the room. The room was very small and there was a spittoon in the corner, which was temporarily used as a toilet. It was too cold at night and the toilet was in the backyard. No one could rest well when running up and down, and the weather was too cold. In other words, when this person went to the toilet, his pants were taken off and he was hung upside down. The body was still warm, and the cut-open body was still steaming. The male features were already unrecognizable. His mouth was stuffed with rags, and his eyeballs were protruding. He was dying. When he saw Ning Shu, his eyes begged, but in the end, he still breathed his last. 795 walked in, glanced at the body, shook his head and said, "It's too cruel. This would make people suffer for a while longer." Ning Shu sighed and said to 795, "Put him down." How many was this? It was the 8th. "I'll do it." 595 put the body down. When he dragged it down, there was a long blood stain. Ning Shu went downstairs and saw the pregnant Lu Man looking at the body that had been sawed. Her eyes were full of sneer and pleasure. She turned her head and saw Ning Shu. She immediately lowered her head and shrank in the corner. Ning Shu walked to Lu Man, narrowed his eyes and asked, "He is the one who raped you, right?" Lu Man lowered her head and did not speak. Ning Shu could not help but rub his forehead. It was a big headache. Another one died. Ning Shu asked 795, "Do you have any clues?" In any case, it was done by this group of people. It might be a coordinated crime. 795 said, "The footprints on the ground are messy and the sizes are different. Obviously, there are more than 2 people. Aren't you upstairs? Don't you know what's going on upstairs?" Ning Shu asked. She was talking to the uncle downstairs. 795 brushed her hair. It happened very quickly. It only took a short while. The crime scene must have been set up beforehand. It should be 2 men. Girls wouldn't go into the male toilet, would they? The place where the girls lived had a spittoon behind the door. 795 heaved a sigh of relief. The mission this time is really a bit dangerous. If people die, we will be forced to reincarnate. I have some ways to avoid being erased. What about you? 795 Ning Shu asked. Every reincarnation is equivalent to being erased once. Ning Shu was speechless. He really wanted to die. Why did he randomly accept this mission? Do you have anyone in mind? Ning Shu asked. We can't just sit here and wait for death. I suspect that the deaths of these people are a religious ceremony, 795 guessed. Some religions have some fanatics who will use all kinds of extreme methods to show their loyalty and faith to the religion. Ning Shu thought for a moment and asked, "You think it's a religious ceremony?" But Lu Man killed those 2 girls. Ning Shu said, "There are too many suspicious points in this, and 696 was killed by the mission enforcer." 795 was also annoyed. There must be something more important that we have overlooked. There is still no news of Lin Xia who ran out. If it's really a religious ceremony, her body will definitely appear, 795 said. I once encountered a mission where a serial killer would place all the bodies in a special position and use a special killing method. The problem now is that there is more than one murderer among these people. Could it be that he killed them all and then committed suicide? Ning Shu said angrily. 795 shrugged. That's hard to say. Ning Shu thought for a moment and whispered to 795, "Let's explore this house. With so many murder tools, there must be a place to hide them." In the northern area, every house has a cellar. So far, I haven't found where the cellar is. I think the cellar is the best place to hide things. 795 nodded and looked at the whole house with Ning Shu. Ning Shu even went to the pigsty to check, but he didn't see the cellar. There was no cellar at all in this house. There is no cellar, which means there are other secret passages in the house, 795 said. This pair of grandfather and grandson must be involved in this killing. Ning Shu kicked away the black pig that rushed toward him, and his shoes were stained with pig feces. 795 grabbed Ning Shu's arm and pulled him out of the pigsty. Why did you go to the pigsty to look for them? The more unexpected the place, the more likely it is. Ning Shu wiped the dirt on his shoes on the snow. 795 rolled his eyes. Ning Shu and 795 walked into the central room and saw the uncle move the table in the middle of the room. He squatted down and knocked on the floor with his hand. The place made a hollow sound. Obviously, the floor was empty. The more unexpected the place, the more likely it is. Ning Shu quickly walked over and looked for the cracks in the floor. The floor in this kind of rural village was made of mud. Ning Shu had to look for cracks everywhere. What are you doing? The old woman saw Ning Shu lying on the ground and couldn't help but ask with her walking stick. I dropped something. I'm looking for it. Ning Shu got up from the ground. The uncle sat aside and looked at Ning Shu. He moved his nose and smelled a very bad smell. The uncle turned and went upstairs. What are you looking for? Lan asked Ning Shu. A small diamond on the hair clip, Ning Shu lied. Lan's pinhole-sized pupils stared in one direction. Grandma said another person died, right? Lan asked, what is the reason for people to keep dying? Ning Shu scratched his head. He still wanted to know what the reason was. Bang! There was a loud sound from upstairs. It sounded like something heavy fell on the floor. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat. Something happened again. Ning Shu hurried upstairs and saw a girl lying on the ground. Her face was chopped by an axe. The axe was deeply embedded in her facial bone. Ning Shu was really annoyed. Why did another person die? How could this be? Fan Juanyang's expression became more and more frantic. We have to leave here. We can't stay here. Ning Shu asked Fan Juanyang, what is the reason? Why do you have to come here in this weather? Fan Juanyang covered his head with both hands. I heard from Panchen that the snow here is very beautiful. But Panchen was already dead. Ning Shu saw a red rope around Fan Juanyang's neck. He couldn't see the pendant because it was inside his clothes. Chapter 852. Ning Shu saw the red rope around Fan Juanyang's neck. She had also seen it around Lan's neck. She thought about it and felt that it was a coincidence. Since she did not see the pendant, it did not mean that they were related. Fan Juanyang wiped his face. He could not bear to look at the body on the ground that was deeply cut by the axe. I want to leave this place. I don't want to stay here. Fan Juanyang's eyes were red like he was about to cry. The others were panicking. Seeing their members die one by one, and in such a cruel way, they could not help but curse. Why did I come to this place? I'm scared. I want to go home. Motherfucker, who is it? Come out, man or ghost. The anxious atmosphere made it hard for people to breathe. They suspected that the people around them were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. Fan Juanyang, it was you who brought us here. I want to go home now, go home. A boy grabbed Fan Juanyang's collar and punched him heavily in the face. Fan Juanyang fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He did not retaliate. He sat on the ground and pulled his hair. The boy wanted to hit Fan Juanyang again but was stopped by the others. Wang Jie, forget it. It's useless to kill him now. The boy called Wang Jie sneered. He might be the murderer. Everyone will be safe if he's killed. The uncle was squatting down to examine the body. He pulled out the axe from the body's face and stood up, holding the bloody axe in his hand. What are you doing? Go to the central room and stay there. If anyone dares to take a step out, I won't be polite. The uncle narrowed his eyes at Wang Jie. Wang Jie met the uncle's eyes and immediately lowered his head. Drag the body to the yard, the uncle said calmly and turned to go downstairs. The others followed behind the uncle. 795 looked at the body on the ground and sighed. He moved the body downstairs. I'll help you, Wang Jie said. Okay. 795 and Wang Jie moved the body downstairs. Ning Shu followed behind the two of them. The sticky blood of the corpses dripped onto the floor. There had been several murders in this building. The blood on the floor had already dried, forming a dark red stain. There were already a few corpses under the snow in the courtyard. There was 696 Mei Ziqing, Zhang Jiasen, 2 girls, Pan Chen, a girl who had her eyes pierced, a boy whose body was cut in half, a girl who was hacked to death by an axe, a girl whose heart was dug out and left in the toilet, and Lin Xia, who had run away without any news until now. 10 people had died in such a short time. Do you think someone faked his death? Let's dig up the corpse and see if it's still there? Ning Shu said. These corpses were buried under the snow. Who knew if the corpses were still there? 795 thought for a while, took out a shovel and a hoe, and handed them to Ning Shu. Then let's dig. Let me do it, her hand is injured. Wang Jie took the shovel and said. 795 glanced at Ning Shu's bandaged hand and didn't say anything. He and Wang Jie started to dig up the corpses. Ning Shu stared at Wang Jie. This person didn't have much of a presence, but he was so active now. It gave Ning Shu a strange feeling. 795 and Wang Jie dug up the corpses one by one. These corpses were frozen stiff, but their organs had started to rot. There was a strange smell. Ning Shu checked if there was a red rope around the corpses' necks. The girls were wearing jewelry like necklaces, but there was no red rope. One was a girl from the countryside, and the other was the president of a university club. Both of them were wearing red ropes, so there must be some connection between them. Whether it was a coincidence or not, he had to investigate. However, Ning Shu still found that one of the corpses was missing. The delicate and refined Pan Chen was gone. Pan Chen's head had hit the door sill, causing brain death. But now his body was gone. One person is missing. 795 touched his chin. Even if he's not the murderer, he's related to the murderer. Wang Jie said, who took his body? Or is he not dead at all? Where is he hiding now? Ning Shu looked at Wang Jie. Why was he so active? Wang Jie scratched his head and looked at Ning Shu. He asked, does your hand still hurt? What does it have to do with you? Ning Shu grinned and didn't say anything. He turned around and went back to the central room. He brushed off the snow on his body and walked in. He said to the uncle, Pan Chen's body is gone. The uncle just narrowed his eyes. When the others heard the news, they started to whisper. Is Pan Chen the murderer? Pan Chen is not dead? Stay in the central room. Don't go out. The uncle said indifferently. It was getting dark. Everyone was hungry. There was no place to sit, so they just sat on the ground. The sound of their stomachs growling could be heard. It was quiet in the central room. Everyone looked dispirited. They were scared, hungry, and tired. They sat back to back. Ning Shu had eaten the fasting pill, so he didn't feel hungry. He also cultivated some qi jin, so his body was in good condition. It was just that the wound on his hand was very itchy. Wang Jie and 795 buried the body with snow again. They entered the room and brought a chill. The old woman and Lan made dinner for everyone. Dinner was even less now. The black steamed buns were even smaller than before. They just had to be eaten with a bowl of water. Everyone chewed slowly. They were afraid that they would finish it all at once. They only had one meal a day, and it was such a small steamed bun. 795 ate the steamed bun absent-mindedly. He didn't feel hungry after eating the fasting pill for half a month. He really couldn't eat the lumps. Wang Jie tore half of the black steamed bun and gave it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was confused. One who was being nice for no reason was hiding evil intentions. Thank you, but I don't need it. Ning Shu rejected directly. I don't know you at all. Tisk. The uncle squinted his eyes. There was a hint of mockery on his face. It was unknown whether he was looking at Ning Shu or Wang Jie. Wang Jie saw the uncle looking at him. He didn't insist on giving Ning Shu the steamed bun. He lowered his head and ate. The old woman carried the brazier to the central room. It was still made of fragrant wood. The room was a little warmer, and there was a faint fragrance. The old woman bent her body and said with a walking stick, "When can you leave? There is no food in the house." As the leader of the team, Fan Junyang naturally had to solve the problem. He said helplessly, "Old woman, can you go to another house to buy some food?" We will pay you any price. How much food can we have in this poor place? It's good enough that we can survive this winter. There is no surplus food. The old woman shook her head and said. The old woman's expression was very bad. Her gaze was very unfriendly. It was as if everyone in the house was eating for free. Sigh, let us stay for 2 more days. We will leave as soon as the snow stops. Fan Junyang gritted his teeth and said, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Moreover, there are so many of us. Chapter 853. The old woman leaned on her walking stick and her face looked terrible. If we save you, we will starve to death. Why don't you think about us? Fan Junyang sighed. This was simply an unsolvable problem. We can only go to the other households tomorrow to see if there is any food. The old woman walked into the room next to the central room with her walking stick. Lan dragged the old woman into the room. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and carefully looked at the red rope around Lan and Fan Junyang's neck. It felt very similar. Ning Shu looked at the other people's necks to see if there was a red rope. But it was winter and some people wore scarves to cover their necks. It was impossible to see. If there was a chance, he must get the things around Fan Junyang and Lan's necks. Because the uncle said that no one could leave tonight. Whether it was going to the toilet or doing other things, they had to report. Some people took blankets and covered themselves with them to warm each other up. Ning Shu sat cross-legged in the corner and closed his eyes to cultivate. He looked like he was sleeping. Wang Jie sat beside Ning Shu. Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked at Wang Jie vigilantly. What are you doing? Nothing. Wang Jie smiled. Actually, I like you. I don't know how long we can live. I want to tell you how I feel before I die. Ning Shu tilted his body. This guy likes the original owner? TSK, why didn't he try to please her before? Why would he suddenly appear now? Who would believe him? Could it be that he wanted to have a breakthrough before he died so that he could have a good sleep? It wasn't that Ning Shu's heart was dark. It was just that men were more calculating than women. They would only try to curry favor if there were benefits. After the fear was magnified, it gave birth to thoughts that they didn't dare to think about. Ning Shu moved to the side and away from Wang Jie. Anyway, this person gave him a very bad feeling. Lu Man, who was squatting in the corner, whispered, I want to go to the toilet. Ning Shu was annoyed by Wang Jie. Hearing Lu Man's words, he said, I'll go with you. Thank you. Lu Man said to Ning Shu. She was tied with a rope and said, Can you help me untie the rope? You're not allowed to untie the rope. The uncle said indifferently, 2 more people will go with you. You go too, the uncle said to Lu Shanshan. Lu Shanshan's expression was a little reluctant. She spread out the quilt and really didn't want to go. However, since the uncle had spoken, Lu Shanshan had to do it even if she was unwilling. I'll go in with you. Ning Shu pulled Lu Shanshan's arm and entered the room next to the central room. There was a spittoon in the room. However, Ning Shu looked around and did not find spittoon. Where did spittoon go? How would I know? Lu Shanshan frowned. Lu Man clamped her legs together, and her face was red. Obviously, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Plus, she was pregnant, so she had to urinate frequently. We can only go out and solve it, Ning Shu said. Ning Shu opened the door, and a bone-chilling wind blew into the room. Suddenly, the room was filled with the sound of breathing. Ning Shu and Lu Shanshan went outside and planned to urinate in the yard. Ning Shu took off Lu Man's pants. Pee. Can you not look at me? I can't pee, Lu Man said in a muffled voice. What are you afraid of? We're all women, Ning Shu said indifferently. Lu Shanshan was so cold that she couldn't help but rub her hands. When Lu Man finished peeing, Ning Shu pulled up her pants again and returned to the room. Thank you. Lu Man thanked Ning Shu. No need. But in the middle of the night, Lu Man said to Ning Shu, I want to go to the bathroom. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu looked at Lu Shanshan, and Lu Shanshan fell asleep. Ning Shu took the flashlight and said to Lu Man, let's go. I'm the eldest, Lu Man said. Ning Shu was speechless. He brought Lu Man to the yard and said, let's do it here. I want to go to the bathroom. Lu Manman's face was hot. Right here. The bathroom is too dangerous. If you pee, just bury it in the snow. Ning Shu shook his head. He couldn't imagine what the yard would look like after the snow melted. There would be feces, urine, and corpses. Lu Manman had no choice but to do it in the yard. Someone's here. Ning Shu saw a dark shadow flash by from the corner of his eye. Ning Shu grabbed Lu Manman's clothes and didn't chase after the shadow. It was obvious that the shadow wanted to lure him away. The uncle stood at the door. Ning Shu asked, "What did you see?" "A shadow flashed by," Ning Shu said. The uncle turned around and went back into the house. Lu Manman was so embarrassed that her face was red. She was still naked. After tidying up for a while, Ning Shu and Lu Manman entered the house. Lu Manman was still squatting in the corner. Ning Shu saw that everyone was in the house and didn't go out at all. This meant that there were other people in the house. "Teacher, is it possible that Pan Chen isn't dead?" Ning Shu said. "And Pan Chen's body is missing." "Two people are missing," the uncle said. "Who said that the people in the house can't leave?" Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu felt that there was still no progress. He said, "At least the people in the central room didn't go out." "Hee hee." The uncle smiled. Ning Shu was speechless. Was he mocking her? Ning Shu looked at the room of the old woman and Lan. Because Lan couldn't see, the grandmother and granddaughter slept together. If there was a passage in their room that led outside, it was hard to say. He had to find a chance to enter their room and take a look. Ning Shu glanced at Fan Junyang, who was sleeping against the wall. He was wearing a red rope around his neck. Ning Shu turned and saw the scalpel in the uncle's hand. He asked, "Can you lend me the scalpel?" The uncle glanced at Ning Shu and handed the scalpel to Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the scalpel and carefully twisted the red rope around Fan Junyang's neck. He cut Fan Junyang's body and carefully pulled out the pendant. Fan Junyang moved his body as if he was about to wake up. Ning Shu quickly put away the pendant. "Thank you." Ning Shu returned the scalpel to the uncle and looked down at the pendant in his hand. The pendant was very ordinary. It was a very simple stone. The stone was round and there was a strange pattern drawn on it. It was very abstract. Ning Shu couldn't tell what it was. Ning Shu reached out his hand and Ning Shu gave the pendant to the uncle. "Give it to me after you wipe it clean." The uncle didn't take it. Ning Shu was speechless. This kind of strange illness was the most annoying. When did it happen again? Ning Shu wiped the pendant on his body before handing it to the uncle. Even if he wiped it again, there would still be bacteria on it. The uncle looked at the stone and smiled. "This is good stuff." Ning Shu thought back to the books he had read. None of the books mentioned this kind of thing. "What is this?" Ning Shu asked softly. "Do you believe that this thing can bring the dead back to life?" The uncle raised his eyebrows. Ning Shu immediately asked, "What kind of treasure is this?" "I'm not telling you." The uncle put the pendant away. Chapter 854. Ning Shu saw that the uncle had no intention of returning the item. She asked, "Should I return this to Fan Junyang?" "Why should I return it to him?" The uncle said calmly. "Then, can you tell me what this is?" Ning Shu asked, scratching her head. No matter how she looked at it, it was just an ordinary stone, not a treasure. "It's a type of spirit stone. This is a child's stone. There should be a mother stone," the uncle said in a good mood. "Idiot." He still didn't understand what it was. "What's it used for?" Ning Shu asked. "It can absorb souls." "It can absorb souls from thousands of meters away," the uncle said. Ning Shu nodded. This kind of stone could absorb souls. No wonder Mei Ziqing said that she didn't see any souls. Her soul must have been absorbed by this stone. This kind of stone that could absorb souls was very similar to her spirit pearl. Could it be that Fan Junyang killed so many people to collect souls? There should be a passage under the table. "It should be empty," the uncle Ning Shu said. Ning Shu was speechless. "You only know how to command people." Ning Shu crawled under the table and felt around to see where the gap was. It was empty, but she didn't know where the mechanism was. There was also a thick layer of soil above the passage. Ning Shu went to the woodshed in the yard to get a shovel and prepared to use it to pry the soil. With just a little movement, a few people woke up. Ning Shu asked Wang Jie, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu immediately put the shovel on his shoulder and said, "I'm using this as a weapon. If the murderer comes, I can fight back. There are so many people. The murderer won't act for now," 795 said. "You didn't see wrong, did you?" "No, someone just flashed by," Ning Shu said. Hearing someone speak, the people in the central room woke up one after another. When Fan Junyang woke up, his neck hurt because he was leaning against the wall. He touched his neck and found that the red rope around his neck was gone. Fan Junyang hurriedly touched his chest, but he didn't feel any stone. His face suddenly changed and became incomparably pale. "Have you seen what I have? It's a stone. It's a protective amulet that I've been carrying with me since I was a child." Fan Junyang looked around anxiously. Ning Shu glanced at the uncle and didn't say anything. Was the uncle going to keep this thing for himself? "What is it?" 795 asked. It's a stone strung with a red rope. This stone is my amulet." Fan Junyang anxiously asked, "Did you see it?" 795 shook her head. Wang Jie frowned and said, "You can ask her. She has been awake all this time." Wang Jie pointed at Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, how could he say that he liked her with this kind of action? Ning Shu wanted to bang her head against the wall. She was just short of directly saying that she was the one who took it. "Have you seen my things?" Fan Junyang Ning Shu asked. Ning Shu shook her head. "I haven't seen it." Did the uncle know who the murderer was? Fan Junyang didn't find his pendant. He was very irritated, but more than that, he felt a kind of fear and uneasiness. "I want to go upstairs and look for it," Fan Junyang said to the uncle. "Are you sure you want to go up and look for it yourself?" the uncle said. "I want to ask a few people to go with me." "Can I, teacher?" Fan Junyang said to the uncle. "Yes, it's up to you." "Thank you, teacher." Fan Junyang hurriedly thanked him and asked a few boys to go upstairs with him to look for the pendant. Wang Jie took the initiative and said, "I'll go with you." Fan Junyang thought of this person who hit him before and felt a knot in his heart. He directly refused. "No, the few of us are enough." Wang Jie pursed his lips and didn't insist on going. Chapter 855. Ning Shu looked at Wang Jie. Why did this guy suddenly become so active? Anyway, he did not have any good intentions. Before, he did not have any sense of existence. He was just an extra who would die soon. But now he had such a strong sense of existence. Anyway, Ning Shu had an unspeakable hostility and disgust towards this Wang Jie. Ning Shu even wanted to cut open his skin to see who was inside. Ning Shu had a quite horrifying idea in his heart. He felt that this was Zhang Jiasen, but Zhang Jiasen had been killed by the uncle. If he could still jump, Ning Shu would be convinced. Wang Jie saw Ning Shu staring at him and also showed a gentle smile to Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly had goosebumps all over his body. He immediately looked away and saw that Lu Man Man at the foot of the wall had disappeared. "Where is she?" Ning Shu could not help but ask 795. "I saw the old lady making a scene and did not pay attention," 795 said and stood up. "I will go with you to find her." "I will go too," Wang Jie said. Ning Shu took the flashlight out of the central room and looked around. He went to the backyard and swept the flashlight everywhere. He saw Lu Man Man sitting on something like a rocking wooden horse. Lu Man Man was tied up. In order to prevent her from falling from the wooden horse, the rope was tied to the branch above her head and the other end was tied to the wooden horse. This was a pulley device. The wooden horse shook. Lu Man Man could not fall from the wooden horse. Lu Man Man was not wearing pants. Ning Shu swept the flashlight and saw blood flowing down the snow-white leg. Ning Shu ran over. Lu Man Man was dying. Ning Shu had a feeling of nausea. It was simply too cruel. Riding a wooden donkey was not a toy, but a very cruel torture for women. A wooden stick with a length of more than a foot and a diameter of 1 inch was protruding from the saddle. The tortured woman sat on it. As the wooden horse shook, The hard wooden stick would smash the woman's uterus and internal organs. This was the ancient feudal society's punishment for women who committed adultery. And Lu Man was pregnant. This is obviously a trial, punishing Lu Man as a criminal. 795 said. Lu Man was raped and pregnant. She was a disloyal woman. Not only punished Lu Man, but also the man who raped Lu Man was sawed. Ning Shu sneered. She didn't know where this cold-blooded murderer was hiding, but he thought that she was a messenger of justice. Hurry up and get her down. Ning Shu said. 795 broke the rope and Wang Jie and helped Lu Man down. She can't live. 795 said. The blood can't be stopped at all. Blood gushed out from below. After a while, there was a pool of blood. She was bleeding profusely. Lu Man's face became more and more green. She grabbed Ning Shu's trousers. Help me? Ning Shu didn't say anything. Lu Man's hands were stained with 2 lives. Lu Man gradually stopped breathing. She was still bleeding below. There was a strong smell of blood. There are too many murderers. Ning Shu said, how did she get to the backyard? She would tell us when she went to the toilet. 795 said, it should be a trap. People died quite frequently. If it was a murderer, how could he commit the crime so quickly? It must be a partnership. Pan Chen and Lin Xia didn't see the bodies. Maybe they were hiding around and spying on them. 795 buried the bodies with snow. Let's go back. Ning Shu put away the rope. It was a tool. It might be useful. Back in the central room, Ning Shu told the uncle about Lu Man. Then he stood aside and leaned against the wall. Fan Junyang, who went upstairs to look for something, came down. His face was very pale. Obviously, he didn't find anything. This thing was in the hands of the perverted school doctor. How could he find anything? So many things had happened. Another person died at night. Now the sky was getting brighter. It was dawn. Ning Shu felt his eyes were sore. He didn't rest for the whole night and didn't practice. His body was very uncomfortable. The old woman and Lan came out of the house and said, today is the last time we will keep you. You can leave after breakfast. Lan didn't ask her grandmother to keep them this time. Okay, let's leave here, Fan Junyang said. President, how do we go? We took the bus before we came. But now the snow is so thick that we can't even drive. And it's easy to get lost in this weather. We are not familiar with this place at all. Everyone was talking. They definitely wanted to leave, but they might not be able to survive if they walked out. There was a cliff between advancing and retreating. People died one after another. They were familiar classmates. The fear and horror was indescribable. They felt that they would go crazy at any time. Teacher, let's go. If we stay here, something will happen to us sooner or later, Fan Junyang said. The uncle nodded. Okay, then let's go. How do we go? One step at a time. How long do we have to walk? Even if we have to leave this place. Fan Junyang's attitude was very firm. The uncle didn't object. The old woman had enough food this time. It was estimated that everyone could eat 3 steamed buns. After you leave, don't come back. Considering that there would be no food in the future, everyone took 3 or 4 steamed buns and put them away. They didn't need to bring water. If they were thirsty, they could just eat 2 mouthfuls of snow. There was nothing much, but there was a lot of snow. Ning Shu put away the steamed buns. Although there were fasting pills, the more food, the better. Teacher, are we really leaving? Uncle Ning Shu asked. If they left here, how could they complete the mission? It's good to go out for a walk, the uncle said. Ning Shu was speechless. Everyone packed their luggage and stood in the courtyard. The uncle stood in front in a black trench coat. Everywhere was white. He was the only one in black. It was too eye-catching. The murderer should be looking for him first. The old woman quickly waved her hand. Hurry up and leave. Go, 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 go. And this courtyard is full of corpses. Take them away too. Take them away. The old woman urged. How can we take the corpses away in this situation? Fan Junyang said. He glanced at Lan, who was leaning against the door, and turned to leave. The group of people stepped on the thick snow and left the courtyard. Ning Shu felt that it was really difficult to walk. It was up to his calves. Why didn't the government do anything in such a serious snow disaster? They should at least ensure a path and shovel the snow. It felt like they were isolated from the world. Ning Shu walked in deep and shallow steps. He saw the school doctor walking in front of him in the snow. The snow only reached his calves. This was fucking illogical. He was tall and not light. How could he not sink deep? Was he a soul or a body? He felt that he had a body. He had flesh and blood. But mission enforcers had souls. Perhaps when they were strong enough, they had a body. He was jealous. It was especially difficult to walk in the snow. He was panting, but he didn't walk far. Ning Shu couldn't understand why the uncle brought them away. Were they not going to complete the mission? Chapter 856. Ning Shu pulled his suitcase and looked at the school doctor walking in front of him. How long would he have to walk? When would he be able to leave? Looking at the endless expanse of whiteness around him, he felt despair just by looking at it. Especially after staying in the snow for a long time, it was easy to develop snow blindness, and one would lose their sight. Ning Shu had cultivated a peerless martial art before, so his physique was still okay. He could barely walk, but the others couldn't. They couldn't pull their legs out of the snow for a long time, and it was especially strenuous to walk. "Teacher, can we rest for a while?" "I'm too tired," Fan Junyong said. The club members were all complaining. The uncle touched the jumping stone in his pocket and said indifferently, "We've only walked for a short while, and you're already tired. We haven't even walked a mile. Let's rest for a while before we continue." "Teacher, we really can't walk anymore." Lu Shanshan hammered her leg. "Teacher, I beg you." "Okay." The uncle nodded. "Rest here for now. We'll continue later." Lu Shanshan suddenly smiled and sat directly on the suitcase. Ning Shu let out a long sigh of relief. She finally stopped. Everyone sat down, moaning and panting. The sky was already dark, and it looked like it was going to snow again. Fan Junyong raised his head and looked at the sky. His face was full of worry, and he couldn't help but look at the uncle. The uncle said, "I'll go take a look around. You guys wait here." "Teacher, where are you going?" Lu Shanshan quickly stood up and said, "I'll go with you." Ning Shu hammered his leg. He looked at Lu Shanshan, who was so tired that her face was pale. He was speechless that she still wanted to run with him. "No, I'll be back soon." "But it's going to snow soon," Lu Shanshan said. As Lu Shanshan spoke, a whistling cold wind blew, mixed with snowflakes. "I told you to wait here." The uncle turned and left. The cold wind rolled up the corners of his clothes, and he gradually disappeared into the wind and snow. The uncle stepped on the snowy ground, holding the red rope in his hand. The stone released a clear cry, jumping about. A hand emerged from the snow, and the body was already covered by the wind and snow. In the snowstorm, a transparent soul was desperately grabbing snow to eat, looking extremely hungry. This was Lin Xia, who had run away earlier. He had died in the snow. Under the ravaging of the wind and snow, this spirit soul child appeared even fainter, as if it was about to dissipate. Seeing the soul, the stone jumped twice and sucked the transparent soul away. The uncle put the stone in his pocket and turned to leave. When the uncle returned, everyone looked at him as if they had seen their savior. Fan Junyong hurriedly said to the uncle, "Teacher, what should we do now? The snow is getting heavier. We will freeze to death in the snow. What do you want to do? You're the one who wanted to come out, and now you don't have any ideas?" The uncle said indifferently as he patted the snow off his shoulder. "Let's find another place to stay." "The snow is getting heavier," Fan Junyong said. "But there aren't many people around." Lu Shanshan looked around and couldn't help rubbing her eyes. The wind was getting stronger and stronger, and some people's lips were purple from the cold. It didn't look good. Ning Shu felt as if the cold wind was blowing into his bones. It was really cold to the bone. She had cultivated a peerless martial art, but even she couldn't bear it, let alone the others. "It's really cold." Lu Shanshan couldn't help but rub her arms. She looked at the uncle and said, If the snow doesn't stop, we won't be able to survive the night. 795 came to Ning Shu's side and said, "Look at Lu Shanshan's behavior. She must want boss to take off his clothes and put them on her." Ning Shu looked at 795 from the corner of his eyes. "You're too petty. Why are you treating a woman like this? Take out your masculinity. Besides, even if you put a shirt on a woman, it's a gentleman's performance." 795 sneered. "Do you know who she is? Is she from ancient times?" Ning Shu asked. Lu Shanshan was the name of her body. Her number was 496. "Forget it. Modern people think that wearing ancient clothes can show off," 795 said. "Why bother with a woman?" Ning Shu said indifferently. 795 pursed his lips. "We have to come back now." Sure enough, Fan Junyang struggled for a while and said to the uncle, "Let's go back." "Okay then," the uncle said indifferently and turned to walk back. Everyone was speechless. Were they going back now? "I'd rather freeze to death than go back. I'll definitely die if I go back." Some people objected. When they objected, they hugged their arms and shivered. "If you want to stay, stay. If you want to go back, go back," Fan Junyang said impatiently. "You brought us to this godforsaken place. So many people died, and you still have this attitude. Fan Junyang, you bastard." Some people were very dissatisfied with Fan Junyang's attitude. Fan Junyang fidgeted with his hair. "Then what do you want? Anyway, things are like this. If you want to go back with me, go back." Ning Shu raised his hand and said, "I want to go back." A few people also said that they wanted to go back. Everyone had a herd mentality. Seeing so many people wanting to go back, even those who didn't want to go back were shaken. Now, they had to endure the cold wind and trudge back to where they came from. Ning Shu felt like she was drunk. What she was doing was completely useless, okay? The journey back was not far. When they returned to the old woman's house, the sky was already dark. "Why did you come back? Didn't you leave already?" The old woman opened the door and saw a group of people. She immediately said impatiently, "Why did you come back? We really can't leave in this weather. We can only come back. Please give us a place to shelter us from the wind and rain," Fan Junyang said sincerely. "Now it sounds nice. Before, you wanted to steal my granddaughter's things. Were you planning to kill us?" The old woman said warily. "There was no such thing at all." Fan Junyang said, "I just wanted to see the thing on Lan's neck. I never thought of taking Lan's things for myself." "I don't believe you." The old woman still said warily. "Grandma, let them live in the woodshed," Lan said expressionlessly. Her eyes were straight and couldn't focus. This woodshed was called a room, but it was just a shed. The wind was leaking from all sides. It couldn't be sheltered from the wind and snow. Everyone felt very irritated. After going back and forth for a while, they could only live in a leaky shed. It was much worse than before. "We'll live in the main room. Just give us a place to stand." Fan Junyang negotiated with the old woman. In the end, Fan Junyang began to threaten the old woman. Only then did the old woman reluctantly agree to let them stay. Chapter 857. Ning Shu felt that the current Fan Junyang was very impatient and uneasy, so much so that he could threaten people. Fan Junyang was not like this in the past. He was like a cornered dog jumping over a wall. Everyone was so cold that their snot was running down. They drank the hot water and their bodies warmed up a little. Now that they were asked to leave again, they would not leave no matter what. After going around in circles, they still came back here. They just did not know what would happen next. Ning Shu was more confused. Was the uncle such a boring person? Did he not do anything but take everyone for a walk? Ning Shu thought in his heart. He was really tired of this kind of non-stop killing game. He might as well take the initiative to attack. Anyway, Ning Shu could not figure out who the murderer was. There were a few suspects, but he felt that everyone was the murderer. Ning Shu looked at Lan's neck. What was that thing hanging on the red rope? There was no dinner. The old woman did not prepare food for everyone. Anyway, they had fallen out. It was good enough to have a sip of hot water. Ning Shu took out the black steamed bun from this morning. The steamed bun was hard and not delicious. Ning Shu chewed slowly. Everyone was sitting or standing in the central room. Although it was still cold, it was much more comfortable than in the ice and snow. Unexpectedly, no one complained. Ning Shu sat cross-legged at the foot of the wall. He even wondered if Lan was really blind or wearing contact lenses. Ning Shu closed his eyes to cultivate. The central room was quiet. There was only the sound of breathing. Ning Shu didn't know how long she had been cultivating when she heard the faint sound of footsteps. She opened her eyes and saw that Fan Junyang and Wang Jie were gone. Even the uncle lying on the recliner was gone. Where did they go? Ning Shu tiptoed out of the central room and looked around for the missing people. Finally, he found two shadows in the backyard. Ning Shu carefully hid and pricked up his ears to listen to what the two people were talking about. He faintly heard, "How dare you commit a crime? I don't care so much. Give me the thing. Fan Junyang, you are just a small outer sect disciple. How dare you talk to me?" Listening carefully, this voice sounded like Lan's. "Without that thing, I'll die." As the two of them spoke, they actually started to tug at each other. While they were tugging, Fan Junyang actually took out a knife. The knife actually reflected a snow-white light under the illumination of the snow. Then there was the sound of a knife piercing flesh. Lan couldn't believe it. "You actually dared to attack me." Fan Junyang pulled the thing off Lan's neck. Lan clutched her chest and collapsed. Fan Junyang put away the pendant. When he turned around, a sharpened wooden stick pierced his heart. The relieved expression on Fan Junyang's face froze. He stared blankly at the person in front of him, who had fallen onto the snow like lawn. Ning Shu was speechless. What was going on? Ning Shu squinted his eyes, trying to see who killed Fan Junyang. The black shadow bent down and picked up the pendant in Fan Junyang's hand. "Give it to me." The uncle's voice was light. "Ning Shu, how many people were hiding here?" The uncle raised his gun. Wang Jie raised his hand and said calmly, "Even if you're a first-generation mission enforcer, this thing is mine." A first-generation mission enforcer wouldn't steal something from a beginner mission enforcer like me, right? The uncle sneered. "What right do you have to bargain with me?" Wang Jie's face was cold. He didn't speak for a long time, but he didn't give the pendant to the uncle. Ning Shu picked his ear. Wang Jie was a beginner mission enforcer. He remembered that only Zhang Jiasen was a beginner mission enforcer. Damn, Zhang Jiasen changed his appearance? What the hell? How could this be possible? Why didn't Mei Ziqing come back? Why did he change his appearance? Why did he kill himself while he was scheming? Was it because of the spirit stone? What was the use of the spirit stone? Feeling like he didn't know anything, Ning Shu asked 2333 in his mind, "What the hell is that stupid stone?" If it was a priceless treasure, she had to get one. This mission had cost her an upgraded version of the amulet. Her heart was bleeding. 2333, where the hell did you go? Ning Shu called out for a long time, but 2333 didn't respond. What's wrong with him? Could it be that something went wrong? Seeing that 2333 didn't respond, Ning Shu gave up. Anyway, 2333 was just a useless piece of trash who only knew how to make sarcastic remarks. Ning Shu quietly stared at the uncle and Wang Jie. Snatching food from the tiger's mouth was just a thought in his mind. There was someone who could destroy space. Trying to snatch food from the tiger's mouth was like trying to hit a rock with an egg. Ning Shu wanted to roll his eyes when he saw Zhang Jiasen. Damn, why didn't this guy die? He caused the death of Miao Miao Miao's family. He was living a superior life. She went to counterattack. In the end, he became a mission enforcer. Wang Jie, who was being held at gunpoint by the uncle, had no choice but to give the pendant to the uncle. The uncle directly put it in his pocket. He didn't kill Zhang Jiasen. He turned around and left. Ning Shu thought that Zhang Jiasen would fight with the uncle. In the end, Zhang Jiasen didn't fight back and just admitted defeat. Ning Shu ran back to the central room and sat cross-legged at the foot of the wall, pretending to cultivate. When the uncle came in, Ning Shu opened her eyes slightly and looked at him. The uncle glanced at Ning Shu and lay on the recliner. When Zhang Jiasen came back, her face was very ugly. Seeing that you're not well, I'm happy. If you're well, that would be great. Although she didn't get that thing, and Zhang Jiasun worked for nothing, Ning Shu was in a good mood. Zhang Jiasun sat next to Ning Shu. Ning Shu smelled the smell of blood on him. She opened her eyes and moved to the side. Zhang Jiasun didn't care about Ning Shu's move. She stared at the uncle and rubbed her fingers. Ning Shu was very bad. She hoped that Zhang Jiasun would fight with the uncle and be killed again. But Zhang Jiasun didn't do anything. Ning Shu expected that Zhang Jiasun was a person who could endure. Now 2 more people were dead. Lan and Fan Junyang were dead. The 2 most suspicious people were dead, but these 2 people were related to these murders. Fan Junyang wanted to steal Lan's jade pendant, but he was killed by Zhang Jiasun. Ning Shu's vigilance towards Zhang Jiasun was raised to the highest point. He killed people who had no grievances with him without mercy. He had such a grudge against him that he wanted to kill him when he had the chance. 2333, are you there? Ning Shu called out to 2333 in her heart. Lalala was as stubborn as a rock. Ning Shu let out a long breath and woke up 795,795. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "What's wrong? What do you think that treasure is for?" Ning Shu asked. 795 looked puzzled. "What treasure?" Ning Shu smiled. "Go back to sleep." "What treasure? You have to tell me. We're sleeping on the same bed. If there's anything good, we'll share it equally." 795 said. Chapter 858. Ning Shu shook his head. "We've never slept on the same bed. That's not the point. The point is that we need to earn some extra money for this mission," 795 said. Ning Shu didn't know if 795 was pretending or not, but Ning Shu didn't dare to look down on anyone. Moreover, 795 was a high-level mission enforcer. Ning Shu didn't believe that he didn't have some skills. How many missions did one have to complete to become a high-level mission enforcer? Ning Shu didn't say anything. He would see if he could pick up some scraps. Ning Shu didn't dare to snatch the things that were in the uncle's hands. He was definitely tired of living. At this moment, Zhang Jiasun turned around and said to Ning Shu and 795, "Do you want to work together?" "No need." Ning Shu rejected directly. Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu. "Are you still angry?" "Oh, why can't I be angry?" Ning Shu said sarcastically. Zhang Jiasun was silent for a moment and said, "Without forgiveness, one's life will be controlled by endless hatred and revenge. I really didn't mean to hurt you." Ning Shu said, "Speak human language." Zhang Jiasun said, "Please forgive me." Ning Shu, "Oh, greater the equal slash, slamming the table and laughing hysterically. Ning Shu really had to hand it to Zhang Jiasun. How thick was his skin to say such shameless words? Seriously, forgive? Why don't you go to heaven? I'll kill you and say something on your grave. If you don't forgive me, one's life will be controlled by endless hatred and revenge. You have to forgive me." He would probably be so angry that his soul would scatter. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun expressionlessly. "I really have to hand it to you." Zhang Jiasun didn't say anything. Perhaps he didn't care about Ning Shu's forgiveness at all. He was just casually saying a few words. The next morning, the old woman realized that her granddaughter was missing. She was so scared that her face turned purple. "Where's my Lan?" "Lan." The old woman used her walking stick to look for her granddaughter. She found Lan's body in the backyard, which was almost covered with snow. She immediately threw herself on the body and cried. It's you who killed my Lan," the old woman pointed at the crowd with a trembling finger. "Give me back my Lan." Zhang Jiasun said coldly, "Is she really your granddaughter?" "She killed Fan Junyang," Zhang Jiasun said. Ning Shu, "Nonsense, you were the one who killed Fan Junyang." The ability to talk nonsense with a straight face was also rare in the world. Zhang Jiasun was really a shameless bitch. Impossible, Lan wouldn't kill anyone. She couldn't see it all. We lived together for more than 10 years. Lan is my granddaughter. How can she not be my granddaughter? The old woman held Lan's body and wailed. When she saw Fan Junyang's body not far away, She hit Fan Juanyang's body with her walking stick. She hit Fan Juanyang's head so hard that Fan Juanyang's face was unrecognizable. Even his brain was smashed out. Everyone present felt a little disgusted and looked away. Who are you? How dare you treat my granddaughter like this, you despicable thing? The old woman looked very sad and frightened. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and turned to quietly go to the central room. He was going to sneak into the old woman's room to see if there were any hidden mechanisms. Anyway, the matter was relatively clear. There were several murderers and accomplices. Fan Junyang and Lon were definitely acquaintances. I'll go with you. 795 saw Ning Shu sneaking and immediately said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded and entered the room next to the central room. The room was very dark, a little dark and damp, and there was a musty smell. There was a small window curtain that had not been opened. Ning Shu opened the curtain and light shone into the room. Hurry up and see if there are any hidden mechanisms. Ning Shu said to 795. He fumbled in the bedside wardrobe and the shabby painting hanging on the wall. They are in the yard. Let's go out quickly. 795 said. Ning Shu also heard the footsteps. He went out of the room and closed the door. The old woman's turbid eyes were filled with tears. She shouted, "Get out of my house now. You killed my Lon. Lon was just a child who couldn't see. Why did you do this to her? Leave my house, get out," Zhang Jiasen sneered. "We won't leave. Now we can't leave at all. You are shameless." The old woman trembled with anger. "Now you want to take over the magpie's nest? This is my home." Zhang Jiasen walked to the old woman and opened the old woman's collar. He saw a black rope and directly pulled the pendant on the old woman's body. Ning Shu was a little surprised. The old woman actually had this kind of stone on her body. "Why did you take my things? Give it back to me." The old woman reached out to take back the pendant, but the old woman was no match for the young and powerful Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen kicked the old woman in the chest and the old woman fell to the ground. The old woman covered her chest for a long time and couldn't get up. Her face was pale. "Ouch, I'm going to kill someone. Ouch." The old woman covered her chest and moaned. Wang Jieyu, the others looked at Zhang Jiasen. Apparently, they didn't expect Zhang Jiasen to be so ruthless. Moreover, the other party was an old woman. Zhang Jiasen put the spirit stone in his pocket and glanced at the uncle. The uncle's face was indifferent. No one could see his emotions. "This grandfather and grandson are the murderers," Zhang Jiasen said. "That's impossible. Why do they want to kill us? They are an old woman and a blind man. It's not easy to kill us. Isn't the blind man dead now?" Zhang Jiasen didn't explain too much. His hand reached into his pocket and tightly held the pendant stone. Ning Shu saw that Zhang Jiasen cared so much about this stone. His heart was scratching. What was so good about this thing that Zhang Jiasen wanted to get it by hook or by crook? "Why don't we stun that guy?" Ning Shu said to 795 while hammering his chest. 795 said, "Are you sure we are doing the task now? What if we get obliterated?" "Then forget it." Ning Shu stared at Zhang Jiasen's pocket. This thing fell into Zhang Jiasen's hands. He was really unwilling. The old woman stood up with difficulty with her walking stick. Her back was hunched, and her eyes swept over the crowd. "You won't have a good ending." Then she went to the room and closed the door. Which room is the situation developing now? Damn. It was clearly a murder case. Now it has become a robbery? The cold wind whistled. Everyone entered the central room. "Teacher, what should we do now?" Lu Shanshan asked the uncle. "Is it not done yet?" Lu Shanshan wanted to ask how the task was completed. Ning Shu stared at Zhang Jiasen. Zhang Jiasen stood far away from the uncle. Obviously, he was afraid that the uncle would rob him again. Ning Shu thought for a moment. Then he took a shovel from the yard and began to dig up the soil. Chapter 859. After removing a layer of soil on the ground, the wooden floor was exposed. 795 knocked on the wooden board and made a hollow sound. "It's empty," 795 said. "I guess there's a passage and a building below," 795 took the shovel from Ning Shu's hand and began to dig at the solid soil on the ground. But after a while, the ground of the central room was turned over, revealing a floor that was pieced together by wooden planks. Ning Shu crawled on the ground and tried to see through the cracks to see what was below. All he saw was darkness. He couldn't see anything at all. "Help me see if there are any traps around here," 795 said to the others. The uncle sat steadily on the recliner and didn't move. Lu Shanshan whispered to the uncle. "Look at her," 795 said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. What did Lu Shanshan do to 795? Ning Shu's nose twitched. "Do you smell blood?" 795 kicked the door open. Ning Shu looked inside and saw the old lady kneeling on the ground. Her eyes were dark and hollow. Her eyeballs were dug out. There was still some flesh and blood stuck on her face. Ning Shu looked away after a glance. This was the bloodiest murder that Ning Shu had ever seen. Everyone's death was particularly miserable. "There's a passage in this room. We didn't see anyone enter this room from next door." 795 looked around. Ning Shu touched the wall and felt that there was a cobweb-like passage under the house that could lead to anywhere in the house. No one knew. Ning Shu, Zhang Jiasen, and the other two searched around the house. Finally, 795 touched a bump under the bed. With a press, a passage appeared under the bed. "Here." 795 climbed out from under the bed. "Move the bed away." The boys worked together to move the bed away. They looked at the dark hole. It was like the mouth of a monster that wanted to swallow everyone. "Teacher, do we go down now?" 795 asked the uncle. 795 dared to talk to the uncle, but Zhang Jiasen stood far away. He tried to reduce his presence. "Go in." The uncle nodded. "Wait." Ning Shu raised his hand. "You don't want to go?" The uncle raised his eyebrows. The uncle hurried to the yard, took a few sharpened sticks from the woodshed, and gave one to 795. "Thank you." 795 weighed the wooden stick and thanked Ning Shu. Ning Shu wanted to give one to the uncle, but he remembered that he had a gun on his waist. Even in the ancient world, guns were allowed, so he didn't give it to him. "Give me one," Lu Shanshan said. Ning Shu handed one to Lu Shanshan. Zhang Jiasen said, "Let's go. There are other people in this room." There were still more than 10 people. "That's right, mentor. What should we do if you leave? What if the murderer comes again? How about we go together?" "I'm scared here." The uncle pursed his lips. "We might die if we go down." Ning Shu felt that it wasn't safe in the house. The passage below could allow the murderer to appear at any time and kill these weak college students. However, the situation below was unknown. They didn't know anything. The future was uncertain. They didn't know what dangers there were. "Mentor, let's go with you," everyone said. "Just stay here." "There's no need to follow me," the uncle said indifferently. "It's dangerous down there." "No, mentor, we must go with you." "Whatever," the uncle said indifferently. Everyone followed Ning Shu's example and went to the courtyard, each of them taking a wooden stick. The uncle went down first, and Lu Shanshan followed closely behind. "Be careful," Zhang Jiasen said to Ning Shu and went down the stairs. Ning Shu, acting like he cared about her. 795 turned on the flashlight on his phone and went down. Ning Shu held the wooden stick tightly in his hand and walked into the cave with the flashlight. He said to the nervous members, "Hurry up and follow me." Everyone went down the passage one after another. The whole house was quiet. The snow was falling heavily, and the wind was howling. It seemed like the house was going to be submerged. Ning Shu held the flashlight in his mouth. He held 795's clothes in one hand and the wooden stick in the other. The stairs were very complicated. There were many passages, and they didn't know where these passages led. It was easy to get lost. There were all kinds of traps in the passages. If they weren't careful, they would lose their lives. As they walked, the people behind them disappeared. They fell into a trap. They didn't know if it was an illusion, but they felt like someone was spying on them. The atmosphere in the group was very gloomy. There were even soft sobs. Ning Shu's palms were sweating. He said to 795, "I feel like someone is playing with us." As soon as Ning Shu's voice fell, he heard a poof. Ning Shu looked back and saw an iron stick suddenly appear on the ground. The iron stick was sharpened. When a boy just took a step, this thing appeared from the bottom of his feet. It went straight through his head from below. The iron stick came out of his mouth. Some people couldn't bear it. They held their heads and screamed at the top of their lungs. The uncle walking in front pulled out the gun at his waist. He narrowed his eyes and shot at the wall. Then he quickened his pace. The people behind had to jog, but there were no casualties for the time being. It felt like there was an inescapable net around them. There were surveillance cameras everywhere. The uncle's gun was always in his hand. He would shoot every few steps, but there were no bullets. Ning Shu released her spiritual power, but her spiritual power was not strong. She could only look at the situation around her and see if there were any mechanisms or traps underground. Ning Shu looked at the uncle walking in front. He seemed to have a direction. He went straight in one direction without stopping. Zhang Jiasen touched the jumping stone in his pocket. He pursed his lips tightly and looked at the uncle walking in front. Ning Shu didn't know how long she had been walking. She didn't know how many detours she had taken. The road in front of her was getting wider and wider. There was a harsh light. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and looked at the entrance of the cave after adapting to the light. He saw a magnificent building that was incomparably gorgeous. There were strange patterns on the big pillars, and in the middle of it was a majestic square altar. There was a pillar on the altar, and on the pillar was a perfectly round crystal. This stone was multicolored and exceptionally dazzling. This is good stuff, good stuff. 795's breathing was very rapid. He couldn't help but move 2 steps forward. Zhang Jiasen touched the stone in his pocket that was jumping more and more. His eyes were very deep. Ning Shu asked 795, "What is this?" 795 whispered, "There are countless planes and 3,000 great Tao. There are always some things that jump out of the great Tao of heaven. They are not troubled by karma and can avoid the sins of karma." "Get to the point?" Rory said a lot. He didn't understand it all. Chapter 860. 795's face was red with excitement. We mission enforcers also have evil creatures, but with this thing, not only can it save lives, it can also avoid the sins of heaven. To be able to get this thing, the number of souls in the stone is equivalent to the number of lives you have. Even if you kill someone, you won't have any negative karma if you kill an innocent person. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, how could such a heaven-defying thing exist? If mission enforcers got it, they wouldn't have to be afraid of being erased. After all, there were souls in it that would replace the mission enforcers. Ning Shu's heart was itching. Looking at the light of the stone, she felt that it was even more dazzling. She really wanted to get this thing. In the face of such a rare thing, the greed in her heart was infinitely magnified. Ning Shu clenched her fists tightly. Her nails dug into her palms, causing pain. Ning Shu calmed down and glanced at the indifferent uncle. She sighed in her heart. Her chances of getting this thing were quite slim. With this thing, mission enforcers could do almost anything. It felt realistic no matter how she thought about it. Clap, clap, clap. There was a burst of applause and there were echoes. Everyone looked at the person clapping. They saw Pan Chen wearing a white priest's robe with wide sleeves. Coupled with his delicate and gentle face, he looked like a polite scholar from ancient times. "Pan Chen, aren't you dead?" Pan Chen said politely, "Welcome to the Temple of God's Stone as a guest." "Pan Chen, did you kill those people?" A member couldn't help but ask. Pan Chen nodded. "Not all of them were killed by me." Pan Chen lowered his head and counted his fingers. "A few of them were killed by Fan Junyang. A few of them were killed by me. There were also some who took advantage of the chaos to kill them. The one riding the wooden horse was killed by this old woman. The saw was done by Lan." Pan Chen complained. "Lan is really useless. She gave me a pair of sky eyes and died just like that." Ning Shu was speechless. Those eyes were sky eyes? They were obviously cataracts of a dead fish, okay? "Are you still human? We are all classmates. Why did you kill them?" Someone shouted at Pan Chen angrily. Pan Chen asked, "Why can't I kill them?" Don't you feel guilty? Of course not. Besides, I didn't kill all of them. I just provided some convenience, Pan Chen said with a shy look on his face. Seeing Pan Chen like this, everyone couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. He was talking about killing people as if it was as normal as eating. Since you're here, I have to give you a gift, Pan Chen said gently. As soon as he finished speaking, the stone on the pillar emitted a dazzling light. Ning Shu suddenly felt as if her soul was about to leave her body. A powerful suction force was trying to suck her body out. Everyone hugged their heads and howled in pain. It was too painful to have their souls forcibly separated from their bodies. The uncle squinted his eyes and fired at the stone. The stone's light dimmed a little, and the power that wanted to pull the soul out of the body was gone. Pan Chen looked at the gun in the uncle's hand and asked with a frown, "What gun is that?" The uncle turned his arm and fired 2 shots at Pan Chen. Pan Chen's body moved twice and his figure dimmed a little. "Can your gun erase souls?" Pan Chen looked vigilant. Ning Shu was speechless. What the hell was Pan Chen? Why couldn't he be killed? Was Pan Chen a soul? Ning Shu asked 795. What is he? 795 felt terrible as she hammered her chest. Depressing, I don't know how many souls this guy has absorbed. He has already formed a soul. I thought I could get the stone by luck, but it already has its own consciousness. Ning Shu was speechless. She had completely given up on this idea. Not to mention the uncle, this guy's soul was even stronger than hers. How could she get it? Instead, her soul was devoured by the other party. Ning Shu clutched her chest like 795. Her heart was extremely stifled. Then why does it reincarnate again and again? Ning Shu asked. It makes people experience death again and again. The more painful, the more hatred, the more fear, the 7 emotions and 6 desires are magnified infinitely. The power of the soul becomes stronger, 795 said. Zhang Jiasun stared at Pan Chen. His eyes narrowed as dark waves surged in his eyes. Everyone retreat, the uncle said calmly. Everyone immediately retreated. The uncle waved at Pan Chen. Come here obediently. Pan Chen took 2 steps back and looked at the gun in the uncle's hand warily. His handsome face was filled with doubt. Can you tell me what the gun in your hand is? The uncle was expressionless. You're really disobedient. He fired 2 more shots at Pan Chen. Pan Chen's soul dimmed a little. His expression became serious as he turned into a stream of light and entered the stone. The uncle fired at the stone. The stone shook slightly and the entire underground building started to shake. The stone emitted a strong suction force, wanting to suck everyone's souls into the stone. The uncle frowned. Stubborn resistance. The uncle pulled the bolt and turned his body slightly. His body and the gun formed a straight line and he fired at the stone. Ning Shu held his head and saw that the space was slightly distorted. A strong force hit the stone. The stone exploded with a bright light to resist this strong force. But the result was obvious. You guys can go. I won't make things difficult for you. Pan Chen's voice came from the stone. A light shot out from the stone and went towards the uncle's face. The middle-aged man dodged to the side and fired 2 more shots at the rock. Pan Chen showed his body and looked at the uncle. You're a soul too? We're the same. Why are you making things difficult for me? Pan Chen said unhappily. Ning Shu looked at the uncle's windbreaker. Was he really a soul? He was no different from a real person. He clearly had a body. 795 sat on the ground. We're done. Let's just watch. Ning Shu squatted beside 795 and whispered to him, Didn't you say that this stone was divided into mother and child stones? Ning Shu raised his chin in Zhang Jiasun's direction. What's the use of child stones? 795 glanced at Zhang Jiasun. It has the same effect. But it's very difficult to condense consciousness. It's a heaven-defying ability, but it's impossible to give it heaven-defying wisdom. I don't know what kind of opportunity Pan Chen had, but he has consciousness. 795 hammered his chest. Damn it. The treasure is right in front of me, but I can't get it. Ning Shu was even more upset than 795. He was upset that Zhang Jiasun had gotten this thing. He didn't know what would happen to Zhang Jiasun in the future. What was worse than not getting the treasure was that the enemy got it. Perhaps Ning Shu's gaze was too intense. Zhang Jiasun turned and met Ning Shu's gaze. Zhang Jiasun smirked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu pouted. What was there to be proud of? Getting it was one thing, keeping it was another. Chapter 861. Pan Chen and the uncle faced each other. Pan Chen realized that his method of attacking the soul was useless against the man in black. Instead, his own soul had lost a lot of soul power after being shot a few times. Facing the black muzzle, Pan Chen felt his heart palpitate. Even the heavenly Tao couldn't kill him. Pan Chen politely said to the uncle, "We can talk. This is the last shot. Do you believe that this shot will destroy your body?" The uncle said coldly, "It wasn't easy for you to form a consciousness. Since you don't know it, leaving you alive will be a disaster." Pan Chen furrowed her delicate eyebrows. "Why do we have to fight and kill?" The uncle fired a shot at Pan Chen's soul. The silent power destroyed Pan Chen's soul until it was transparent. Pan Chen raised his hand in shock. His hand was already transparent. Pan Chen immediately went back into his body and said, "I surrender." Ning Shu was speechless. He thought that there would be a good fight. What a smart guy. Pan Chen flew toward the uncle. The uncle reached out and caught the stone. Ning Shu's saliva flowed out. This was a good treasure. There was no karma involved in killing people, and it could even be killed in his place. The uncle put the stone away. "Give it to me," the uncle said to Zhang Jiasun indifferently. "Isn't this something that a mission enforcer like you should have?" Zhang Jiasun held the stone tightly and took 2 steps back. "I got it myself. I have the right to get it. Didn't you want it too? You even knew about it a long time ago. But you let them kill people to draw it out." Zhang Jiasun's expression was serious. The uncle said casually, "So what?" Zhang Jiasun's expression was gloomy. "Then what right do you have to take my things?" "I want to." "What right do you have to say that to me?" The uncle said indifferently. "Are you stupid? They're just souls now. Who knows how many times they've died? Even their bodies are fake," Pan Chen said. Ning Shu was a little surprised. The body she possessed was fake, but it had a temperature, a heartbeat, and breathing. Was it a trick? Are first-generation mission enforcers allowed to steal from others? Before Zhang Jiasun could finish his sentence, the item in his hand flew out. "This is something I gave to a few slaves. Do you want to become my slave?" Pan Chen said, "Can you help me kill people and find souls, and I'll give you eternal life?" The uncle pressed his hand on the stone, and Pan Chen immediately stopped talking. The thumb-sized stone flew towards the uncle. The uncle caught the stone and said, "How many stones did you scatter? Call them all back." "Yes." Pan Chen's tone was dull. Zhang Jiasun's face turned green, extremely unsightly. When Ning Shu saw that the thing that Zhang Jiasun had painstakingly planned was gone, he was overjoyed and couldn't help but want to stand up and applaud. "Well done." However, with this kind of thing, without any restraints, they would be unrestrained and unrestrained. Mission enforcers without any restraints would cause immeasurable damage to the plane. Without Pan Chen's support, the space began to collapse. Everyone felt their vision blur before they appeared in the central room. They felt a tremor under their feet. The god's stone temple must have collapsed. Ning Shu let out a long breath. This mission was finally completed. He had wasted an upgraded version of the amulet. However, now that he could hold his head high and see Zhang Jiasun fail, he felt that it was worth it. What happened to me? The bodies of the surviving members began to slowly turn into stone. In the end, they became human-shaped sculptures. Their souls floated out of the stone statues, and each of them became soul bodies. Ning Shu also returned to his original appearance. The mission enforcers also recovered. Lu Shanshan was wearing an elegant ancient costume. She was extremely beautiful. "Wow, your souls are not bad. If I had known, I would have swallowed you all first," Pan Chen said in a muffled voice. The uncle pointed his finger in the air. A black hole slowly appeared from his fingertip. As soon as the black hole appeared, the soul bodies rushed towards it. The black hole gradually shrank and finally disappeared. Ning Shu had seen this kind of black hole when he was a Maoshan Taoist priest. What is that? Ning Shu asked 795. The path to reincarnation. These people are already dead. Naturally, they will be reincarnated, 795 said. Ning Shu, damn, he casually summoned the path of reincarnation. Ning Shu smiled. Stay away from the uncle in the future. Who knows, he might kick her into the path of reincarnation. Go back, the uncle said calmly. Ning Shu suddenly felt dazed. When he opened his eyes, he was already in the virtual space's private room. Ning Shu let out a long breath. He looked down and saw that his soul had dimmed a lot. Are you okay? Mei Ziqing asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu turned and saw Mei Ziqing. He asked in surprise, You've been waiting here? Yes, I had to wait for you guys to come back. The mission is only considered complete, Mei Ziqing said. Ning Shu asked in confusion, Don't you have an upgraded version of the amulet? Why didn't you exchange for one? Mei Ziqing said helplessly, I've been stuck at the high-level mission enforcer level for a long time. Every bit of merit I use is a little less. I have to save it to level up. Ning Shu nodded. Mei Ziqing said, Then I'll leave first. I have to see how much merit I have this time. But I died early, so I don't think I have much merit left. I still have to do this kind of mission. Looks like I still have to exchange for a few upgraded versions of the amulet. Sigh. Mei Ziqing's figure disappeared after he finished speaking. Ning Shu said, 2333, I'm leaving too. Add my account. We'll work together again if there's a chance. Okay. After the mission enforcers left, only Zhang Jiasen, the uncle, for 96, and Ning Shu were left in the room. Zhang Jiasen's soul was extremely transparent, as if it was about to dissipate. It looked like he had paid a heavy price for possessing her twice. If she used a little item, she could turn Zhang Jiasen into ashes. Zhang Jiasen sensed Ning Shu's malicious gaze. He glanced at her and disappeared. For 96 said to the uncle, Can you give me a small piece of that stone? The uncle said indifferently, No. For 96 was a little discouraged. Then can you let me take a look? I'll just take a look. I've never seen such a stone before. Can I just take a look? Ning Shu saw that 496 seemed to be acting coquettishly with the uncle. It was a little awkward, but the uncle's composure was really good. Even in the face of such a beauty, he still had a cold expression. For 96, who was rejected, looked a little unhappy. Looking at the indifferent first-generation mission enforcer, 496 was angry but full of fighting spirit. Ning Shu felt that it was not suitable for him to stay here. He called out to 2333 in his heart, Return to the system space. Yes. 2333, who was lying like a corpse, finally responded. Ning Shu felt dizzy and left the virtual space. Chapter 862. Back in the system space, Ning Shu hurriedly sat on the carpet and began to cultivate. This time, he had used up a lot of his soul energy. When his soul energy was sufficient, Ning Shu stopped cultivating and asked 2333 coldly, Where did you die? Why didn't you reply to my questions? I crashed. I was working on the data, 2333 said. Didn't I get a system's luck and laws? Ning Shu was speechless. Her and 2333's 8 characters clashed. That was why they were not on the same beat. Ning Shu was too lazy to say anything. He opened his status panel to see what he had gained. Number, 2333 Name, Ning Shu, Intermediate Mission Taker. Age, 27 points, 11. 15 million soul, 310 health points, 81 wisdom, 264 charm, 10 luck, 99 mental power, 170 faith, 24141000 combat power, 182 aptitude, 79 merit, 100453000 skills. 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, entry to ultimate martial arts, beginner poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skills, ghost hunter skills honorary titles. Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Items, Calm Aura, Faith Aura, Amulet 5, Upgraded Amulet Auras, Mother of the World, Queen's Blessing, Model Worker, Chinshi's Blessing, Leader Aura, Grass Blessing, Best Friend, Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand, Zhu Sunyang's Blessing, Completed Special Mission. Received 3,000 merit points and 1,000 faith points. Ning Shu rubbed his eyes. That's it? Just 3,000 merit points? No points, no attribute points. This mission was a scam. Ning Shu opened the chat and asked Mei Ziqing, "How's the reward? Can I become a super mission taker?" Mei Ziqing, "Sigh, I'm still a little short. Merit points are really hard to come by. I still need to do some special missions. Special missions are hard to come by." Ning Shu comforted Mei Ziqing, "Don't be too anxious. Take it slow." Mei Ziqing thought for a moment. "I'd better go and do some normal missions. I'm mentally tired. I'll think about it when I have a special mission." Ning Shu chatted with Mei Ziqing for a while. Just as he was about to close the chat, he heard a notification. Ning Shu clicked on it and saw that it was 795 requesting to speak to her. Ning Shu clicked yes. 795 sent a message and asked, "How was the mission this time? What did you get?" "It's not ideal," Ning Shu replied. 795 said, "Pan Chen isn't someone we can control. He didn't do anything, so naturally he didn't gain much." Ning Shu sighed. It would have been better for him to do normal quests, earn 20 million points, and become an advanced quest taker. As for becoming an advanced quest taker, that was too far away. Ning Shu was too lazy to even think about it. There was another ding. Someone wanted to talk to her. Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was number 6457. This number was Zhang Jiasen. Ning Shu rejected it without hesitation. She was too lazy to talk to Zhang Jiasen, and there was nothing to say. Anyway, Zhang Jiasen would take the opportunity to kill her. He was very scheming. He was saying nice things to her now, but the next time he had the chance, he would be merciless. Ning Shu turned off the chatting system and took out the Peerless Martial Arts secret book. She wondered how she could turn this book into a world. What did she need? She really wanted to have her own world. Ning Shu closed the book. She remembered that the silver-haired man still owed her 3 questions. Should she ask him? The silver-haired man was quite knowledgeable. Ning Shu took the book and said to 2333, "Let's go to the virtual space." Ning Shu felt dizzy for a moment. She stood on the Bluestone Street and walked towards the consultation room with the Peerless Martial Arts Manual. Walking into the consultation room, Ning Shu smelled an elegant aroma. She felt her mind clear, and the negative emotions in her heart slowly dissipated. Her heart was calm. Ning Shu breathed in the aroma desperately. The silver-haired man came out from the inner room. When he saw Ning Shu, his expression was indifferent. He never left the book, and his long silver hair was tied up. "What do you want to ask this time?" The silver-haired man sat down. His movements were elegant, gentlemanly. Ning Shu put the book on the table and asked, "What do I need to form a world?" The silver-haired man raised his eyebrows. "You are only an intermediate quest taker, and you want to build a world? Build a world?" She remembered that 795 also said to build a world. Ning Shu opened the book and said to the silver-haired man, "Take a look and see if you can form a world." The silver-haired man took the book and flipped through it page by page. He raised his eyebrows. "Patterns formed by the power of faith can form a world, but it is more difficult. A world must have its own laws and power system to maintain the world's operation. It must have an environment that allows living beings to survive. Water, sunlight, earth, and soul all have their own origins. The 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth also have their own origins. These origins are what maintain the world." Ning Shu straightened out the silver-haired man's words and asked, "Then do I need to obtain the elemental origins?" The silver-haired man closed the book and pushed it to Ning Shu. "Yes, the origins aren't easy to obtain. They are usually derived from the world itself. With your current strength, it is too difficult to create a world with human power." Ning Shu pursed his lips. Maybe he can obtain the origins. Ning Shu asked, "What is building a world?" Mission enforcers are also a kind of cultivator. Usually, when you become a super mission enforcer, you will start to build your own world. Once you have your own independent world and become one with the world, you will not be easily erased. The silver-haired man said. Ning Shu nodded. 795 said that 496 was a super mission enforcer who did not even know how to build a world. So that was what it was. The silver-haired man said, "You have already asked 2 questions. There is only one free question left." What? Just one question? Ning Shu was speechless. The first question is whether this book can form a world. The second question is what is building a world. The silver-haired man crossed his arms and said in a noble manner. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn it, so black-hearted. Profiteer. Ning Shu smelled the agarwood. The silver-haired man took his book and went into the room. He turned around and said to Ning Shu, "This kind of incense is charged according to the time it is recorded." Ning Shu took his book and ran out of the consultation room. He looked at the signboard at the door and really wanted to flip the table. Gentlemanly and elegant, but so treacherous in his bones. They were all old and cunning people. He wondered how long this man had been around. After coming out of the consultation room, Ning Shu went to the restaurant and ordered something to eat. After eating a table full of food, he was not full and did not gain weight. Awesome. After coming out of the restaurant, Ning Shu planned to exchange for an upgraded version of the amulet. The last time he exchanged for one, he was erased. He had to exchange again. Chapter 863. The upgraded version of the amulet cost 100 merit points. Ning Shu went to the shop where he had exchanged before. Previously, he had exchanged for 95 merit points. This time, Ning Shu spent 190 merit points to exchange for 2 upgraded versions of the amulet. With 2 upgraded versions of the amulet, Ning Shu felt a lot more at ease. After exchanging for the amulet, Ning Shu said to 2333, "Let's go back to the system space." After returning to the system space, Ning Shu took a book from the bookshelf and read it. After reading it, he took the sprinkler to water the flowers and tidied them up. He said to 2333, "Let's look at the next client." 2333 said. A figure gradually appeared in the space. She was wearing coarse linen clothes and cloth shoes. Her hair was tied up with a wooden hairpin. Her face was sallow and tired. Her figure was thin, and her cheekbones were high. At first glance, she looked like an overworked ancient peasant woman. Ning Shu squinted his eyes and looked at her. He knew a little bit about fortune-telling. This woman clearly had a rich face. The woman's cloudy eyes looked around the space. The space was bright, the floor was smooth, the plants dripping with water, the fresh and lovely flowers, the bookshelf was full of books, and the beautiful sofa. The woman nervously pinched her white dress and took 2 steps back. Ning Shu said, "Hello, are you going to counterattack?" "Yes, my name is Chen Ermei." Chen Ermei whispered, "Can you help me counterattack?" "Yes, what is your wish?" Ning Shu asked. Chen Ermei looked a little timid. After a long silence, she said, "I want to take revenge on Bai Yiqiao. She ruined my life. I don't know why she did this to me. And my husband, he defiled me." Speaking of her husband, Chen Ermei looked frightened and scared. Ning Shu decided to read the plot first before deciding whether to accept the quest. Chen Ermei didn't know why Bai Yiqiao was so against her. In fact, Bai Yiqiao was reborn. Bai Yiqiao's father was a scholar. He took the imperial examination all his life and didn't get to high school. However, being a scholar in the corner of the village was still very amazing. Furthermore, once one became an elementary scholar, one would not have to pay exorbitant taxes. Bai Yiqiao was born delicate and pretty. Because she didn't work, her skin was white and she wore beautiful clothes. She was particularly conspicuous among the village girls and women. Bai Yiqiao's grandfather was engaged when Bai Yiqiao was young. Her future husband was a man who hunted for a living. Bai Yiqiao was proud and arrogant. Naturally, she didn't like this man. She broke off her marriage and went to the town to be a concubine for the son of a big family. At that time, the world was in chaos. Fang Yong, who had his marriage annulled, wanted to join the rebel army. However, before he left, Fang Yong's mother arranged another marriage for him. The other party was Chen Ermiai. Not long after they got married, Fang Yong joined the army. Relying on his agility and archery skills, Fang Yong stood out in the army and climbed up the ranks step by step. After the new emperor ascended the throne, Fang Yong was given the title of Marquis. As for Chen Ermiai, because of her husband's honor as a wife, she became a titled madam. Bai Yiqiao, who became a concubine, was found wrong by the mistress of the house. She broke her legs and threw out of the house to beg for a living. When Fang Yong returned home, Bai Yiqiao saw Chen Ermiai, who was not as good as her in every aspect, dressed in brocade clothes, wearing gold and silver, followed by several servant girls. Even the mistress of the house, who broke her legs, was in front of Chen Ermiai. Fang Yong, who was wearing an official's uniform, Bai Yiqiao was stunned. She never knew that Fang Yong was so heroic. All this glory and her husband became someone else's. Chen Ermiai was lucky to pick up the scraps. Bai Yiqiao crawled on the side of the road. Chen Ermiai threw a few copper coins into her bowl. Bai Yiqiao was ashamed and insulted. She covered her face with her dirty and messy hair. Watching Chen Ermiai and Fang Yong go farther and farther away, seeing Fang Yong's considerate care for Chen Ermiai, Bai Yiqiao regretted it. In remorse, Bai Yiqiao froze to death on the street. When she woke up again, she was reborn back to the time when she broke off the marriage. The reborn Bai Yiqiao decided to turn over a new leaf, no longer loved vanity, and lived a down-to-earth life with Fang Yong. Ning Shu, who had accepted the plot. Why was it reborn again? People with such character could be reborn. Those who were wronged and died, those who suffered great pain and died, had no chance to start over. Your mother, this Bai Yiqiao was a proper green tea bitch. The reason why she would live a down-to-earth life with Fang Yong was that she knew that Fang Yong would stand out sooner or later. Green tea bitch, she fell under the skirt of a man. Bai Yiqiao had always been afraid of Chen Ermiai, who had a husband and wife relationship with Fang Yong. Chen Ermiai's current situation was Bai Yiqiao's masterpiece. Bai Yiqiao was not a good person. As a concubine of a big family, her complicated backyard was full of struggles and she had experienced all kinds of shady things. Ning Shu looked at Chen Ermiai. It was hard to imagine that when Chen Ermiai died, she was only in her 30s. Ning Shu asked Chen Ermiai, to counterattack, you have to contribute your soul force. Are you sure? Chen Ermiai nodded. I'm sure. I'll contribute 50% of my soul force. Then your wish is to take revenge on Bai Yiqiao and your husband? Ning Shu asked. Chen Ermiai's eyes dimmed. She bit her lips and nodded, yes. Well, I'll take this mission. Ning Shu said. Thank you, girl. Chen Ermiai bowed to Ning Shu. Her figure gradually disappeared from the system space. Ning Shu opened the system exchange store and exchanged for fasting pills, some medicine, and detoxification pills. Thinking of the chaotic world of cannibalism, Ning Shu wanted to exchange for some weapons. He exchanged for a dagger that could cut iron like mud. When everything was ready, Ning Shu said to 2333, enter the mission. Okay. 2333 replied. Ning Shu's head was dizzy. She felt that her body was fusing with another body. She felt that someone was pressing on her body, pecking her neck, making a tsk sound and spitting out a disgusting breath. A pair of hands touched her body and took off her clothes. Ning Shu immediately opened her eyes and saw a man lying on top of her. Ning Shu's heart was filled with a disgusting feeling. She reached out and slashed the man's neck. The man's eyes rolled back and fainted on top of Ning Shu. Ning Shu pushed the man on top of her away and swung her hand. Her hand hurt from the palm strike. Ning Shu fiercely kicked the man and quickly buttoned up her unbuttoned clothes. This man should be the husband of the original owner, Li Guzi. He was a loafer who stole chickens and dogs. He looked wretched. This was the time to change Chen Ermiai's life. Li Guzi defiled Chen Ermiai and was caught in bed. Under the pressure of all parties, even Chen Ermiai's suicide threat could not change the fate of marrying Li Guzi. Ning Shu put on her shoes and took out her dagger. This Li Guzi was simply a scum. Chapter 864. Ning Shu held a sharp blade and planned to teach Li Guzi a lesson. He heard hurried footsteps outside the house. Second sister said she went to the toilet, but we still can't find her. We've looked everywhere. The voices outside the house were getting closer and closer, and the footsteps were getting louder and louder, and listening to the footsteps, there were a lot of people. Ning Shu thought quickly in his mind. The most important thing now was not to have anything to do with Li Guzi. Putting away the dagger, Ning Shu opened the window, jumped out of the window, and then closed the window. Ning Shu bypassed the room and returned to the hall. On the table in the hall, there were colorful lines, which were used to make knots. The reborn Bai Yiqiao was very good at making knots. She had seen many styles in the big families. The women around her all came to learn from her, and Chen Ermiai also came to learn. But she was defiled by Li Guzi in Fang Yong's house. Now Bai Yiqiao and Fang Yong were married. Ning Shu picked up the unfinished knots on the table. Ning Shu was weaving knots in his hand and went to the abandoned room in the backyard. "Hey, what are you all doing here?" Ning Shu looked curious. "I said there was no one in the house. You all ran here. Sister, where did you go?" Bai family's sister said you were missing. "A man?" Ning Shu asked. This man was Chen Ermiai's brother, Chen family's eldest brother. He looked simple and honest. Ning Shu looked at Bai Yiqiao. "After I went to the toilet, I went back to the house." Although Bai Yiqiao was wearing rural women's clothes, they were embroidered with complicated embroidery, which made the coarse linen clothes immediately rise in grade. Bai Yiqiao was a concubine in her previous life. She knew how to serve people with beauty. A woman would dress up for herself. Under limited conditions, she would also make herself look good. At this time, Bai Yiqiao looked a little surprised, and then said with a smile, "Second sister went back and didn't tell us. She let us look everywhere. I heard that Dog Li came to find you. I thought you went to play." Bai Yiqiao said again. Ning Shu hurriedly shook her head. "I didn't play with Li Guzi." "Sister-in-law Fang, how can you say that? I learned how to play with Li Guzi from you. Everyone knows what kind of person Li Guzi is. How can I have anything to do with Li Guzi? I can't wait to avoid him." "Sister-in-law Fang, how can you say that?" Bai Yiqiao said gently, "I'm just saying." "What are you guys doing here?" Ning Shu squeezed into the house and saw Li Guzi who had been tied up. He said in surprise, "Sister-in-law Fang, why is there a man in your house? Isn't this Doggy Li?" Bai Yiqiao reluctantly said, "He must have slipped into the room to sleep." Ning Shu's face was full of disdain for Li Guzi. "When big brother Fang Yong comes back, let him teach this Doggy Li a good lesson. If I don't know, I'll think that you're hiding a man and ruin your reputation for no reason." Bai Yiqiao's face was a little ugly. There was a moment of sharpness in her eyes. Looking at a few long-tongued women pointing and whispering to each other, Bai Yiqiao scolded Li Guzi in her heart. Especially when she heard Ning Shu call Fang Yong and call him Big Brother Fang, Bai Yiqiao suppressed the dissatisfaction in her heart. It must be that Li Guzi is not honest. He came to my house to steal chickens and dogs. As a result, he lay down and fell asleep. Bai Yiqiao calmly explained. Ning Shu nodded. "This Li Guzi is a scum. Sister-in-law Fang, I'm telling you, don't let him off easily." "I'll listen to second sister," Bai Yiqiao said. Chen family's eldest brother Ning Shu said, "Let's go back. Father and mother should be worried." Ning Shu smiled and said to Bai Yiqiao, "Then sister-in-law Fang, I'll go back first." Ning Shu turned around and the smile on his face disappeared. Chen family's eldest brother saw Ning Shu like this. After leaving the Fang family's house, Ning Shu asked, "Sister, are you not feeling well?" "It's okay," Ning Shu said. Looking back at the Fang family, he felt that Bai Yiqiao was really vicious. She knew the importance of reputation to a woman, but she used this method to destroy Chen Ermiai. So many people saw her doing dirty things with Li Guzi, And Li Guzi also said that Chen Ermiai seduced him and said that Chen Ermiai was an incomparably lewd woman. No matter how Chen Ermiai refuted, no one believed her. The eyes of others were like knives and swords. The Chen family's reputation was ruined by Chen Ermiai. A woman who lost her chastity was simply dirty to the eyes at a glance. Wherever she went, she would point and talk. Chen Ermiai was going to be drowned in a pig cage, or Chen Ermiai would be put under house arrest. This house arrest was a punishment for women. It punished the improper relationship between men and women, destroyed the woman's desire, and directly sewed up the nether regions to achieve the effect of house arrest. It was so harsh to women. At this time, Li Guzi stood up and said that he wanted to marry Chen Ermiai. In the situation at that time, marrying Li Guzi was the best choice. Chen Ermiai was given to Li Guzi to be his wife. Li Guzi was an out-and-out hooligan. Calling him a hooligan was an exaggeration. He was a shameless, unmanly, and shameless person. Li Guzi was lazy. He would not run around for the family's livelihood. He would not pull out the grass in the field. If there was no food at home, he would either steal it or go to other people's houses to eat. In short, Li Guzi was a hopeless and inhumane scum. After Chen Ermiai married him, she had to do everything at home. Washing clothes and working in the field were all on Chen Ermiai's shoulders. If there was a little money at home, Li Guzi would take it away and go out to drink. He would also beat Chen Ermiai. He often regarded himself as Chen Ermiai's savior. He said that if he had not married Chen Ermiai would have been drowned in a pig cage. Chen Ermiai was very tired and had to face Li Guzi's inhumane treatment. He even beat Chen Ermiai until she had a miscarriage. She had to work in the field, cut the pigweed, and carry the pigweed. Li Guzi never helped her. He did not care whether Chen Ermiai was dead or alive. Sometimes when he went home, he pressed Chen Ermiai on the bed and never cared about Chen Ermiai's feelings. In her 30s, Chen Ermiai was tortured to death. Ning Shu sighed. No wonder Chen Ermiai wanted to revenge on Li Guzi in an era where men were everything. Under Li Guzi's abuse, Chen Ermiai did not even have the heart to resist. Even if she wanted revenge, she would let Ning Shu do it. This was a woman living in ancient times. Reputation was a heavy shackle on her neck. Chen Ermiai was the victim, but no one cared about how she was hurt. Instead, they wanted to drown Chen Ermiai in a pig cage. Li Guzi only received a little punishment. Chen Ermiai was tortured to death. If it were Ning Shu, even if she died together with him, she would teach Li Guzi a lesson. Chapter 865. Chen Ermiai's forbearance won't make Li Guzi treat her well. Forbearance will only make people like Li Guzi bully her even more. In the end, it's the restraint and oppression of women in this era. Ning Shu returned home with his elder brother Chen Li next to him. When they entered the house, Father Chen raised his pipe and hit Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't have the experience of standing still and letting people hit him. He dodged in a flash. "You still dare to dodge?" Father Chen's eyes were red. Madame Li comforted from the side. "Well, old man, isn't Ermiai back?" Father Chen sat on the Kong and took a deep breath of the cigarette. He said angrily, "You are already a big girl. Don't do things that make me not know where to put my face. You still say that you are close to Li Guzi." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Dad, how can I be with Li Guzi? Li Guzi is clearly at Fang Yong's house and is even sleeping at Fang Yong's house. What does it have to do with me? Fang Yong's wife came to me and your mother and said that you were playing Luozi and then disappeared." Father Chen knocked on the small table on the Kong with his pipe. "I just went to the toilet and Bai Yiqiao was so nervous. Who knows what she is thinking?" Ning Shu said, "I will never go to her house to learn Luozi again." "If you don't go, then don't go. Luozi is only a little money. Just do the things at home well," Father Chen said. Ning Shu smiled. "Thank you, Dad." "Go and feed the chicken," Father Chen said. Ning Shu opened the curtain and went out of the room. He picked some yellow leaves from the vegetable field at the door and cut them to feed the chicken. Chen Li helped Ning Shu do things. Ning Shu said, "I don't think Bai Yiqiao is a bad person. Bai Yiqiao is good-looking, right? Ning Shu looked at Chen Li. Chen Li nodded his head honestly. Yes, she is. Many people are saying that Fang Yong is burning incense to be able to marry the daughter of a scholar. Moreover, she is a virtuous and beautiful daughter-in-law. Ning Shu sneered. In the eyes of men, there was only color. The wife looked at the 8 characters, and the concubine looked beautiful or ugly. In Ning Shu's view, Bai Yiqiao's whole body couldn't get rid of that concubine style. She was already married to Fang Yong, but she did such a thing to Chen Ermiai. In her last life, Bai Yiqiao was caught in bed and slept on the same bed with the manservant in the house. The head of the house broke her legs on the charge of adultery. In this life, Bai Yiqiao used this method on Chen Ermiai. Ning Shu really couldn't figure it out. Why would such a person have the chance to be reborn? Bai Yiqiao was a genuine green tea bitch. Although she was reborn and lived a down-to-earth life with Fang Yong, but in her last life, she tried to seize the favor of the young master. The young master fell in love with her in this life. He even wanted to divorce his wife and remarry for her. The reborn Bai Yiqiao was like a cheat. She had money in business and knew that chaos was coming. Fang Yong would participate in the uprising, grow food and buy food. She often sent food and clothes to the uprising army, causing many people in the uprising army to envy Fang Yong for having a good wife. Even the leader of the uprising army, the future emperor, had a good impression of her. But in this life, Bai Yiqiao swore to live a good life with Fang Yong and make it up to him. No one else cared. In the end, Bai Yiqiao naturally became a legendary woman. Ning Shu, her mission was to take revenge on Bai Yiqiao and Li Guozi. Naturally, she wouldn't let Bai Yiqiao be so glorious. Rebirth was rebirth. Why did she have to trample on others? Ning Shu asked Chen Li, "Big brother, what kind of sister-in-law do you want to marry?" Chen Li scratched his head, "Someone who is willing to treat me well. If she looks good, that would be even better." Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Without strength, beauty was a disaster, whether it was for men or women. Ning Shu said some meaningful words, which made Bai Yiqiao's situation a bit awkward. The most important thing was that Li Guozi was in her house. Bai Yiqiao's previous excuse was that Chen Ermiai and Li Guozi had agreed to meet at her house. Chen Ermiai used the excuse of learning to play Luozi to have an affair with Li Guozi. But now nothing happened between Chen Ermiai and Li Guozi. Instead, she fell into a quarrel. Bai Yiqiao couldn't help but scold Li Guozi in her heart for being useless. Fang Yong came back with 2 pheasants. Bai Yiqiao thought about it and told Fang Yong what had happened. Fang Yong was powerful. He lifted the tied-up Li Guozi and gave him a fat beating. The wretched Li Guozi was beaten until he cried out. Bai Yiqiao was angry with Li Guozi. She let Fang Yong beat him and didn't stop him. Fang Yong was a man of propriety. He stopped after teaching Li Guozi a lesson. He threw Li Guozi out of the yard of Fang's house and pointed to Li Guozi and said coldly, "If you dare to come to my house again, I will break your legs." Hearing that her leg was broken, Bai Yiqiao's leg reflexively turned cold. Her leg was broken in her last life, and the feeling of her skull being broken made Bai Yiqiao still terrified. Since she was reborn, she felt that it was a dream. When she woke up, she was still crawling on the ground with a broken bowl in front of her, begging the people who came in front of her to give her some money and food. She didn't want to live like that again in her life. She wanted to live a good life with Fang Yong. Fang Yong was a hunter. He hunted in the mountains all year round. His body was stained with blood and had a murderous air. With such a cold face, he was quite powerful. Li Gui, who bullied the weak and feared the strong, was so scared that he almost peed in his pants. He didn't dare to say anything at all. Bai Yiqiao said to Fang Yong, "Li Guozi said that he came to find Chen Ermiai. He said that he had an appointment with Chen Ermiai, but he slipped into the room and fell asleep." Fang Yong frowned his thick black eyebrows and said doubtfully, "Why did Chen Ermiai make an appointment with Li Guozi in our house?" Fang Yong was a person who fought with wild beasts in the mountains and forests. If he really didn't have a brain, how could he rise in the army and finally achieve glory? Bai Yiqiao pursed her lips and said casually, "I don't know. It's estimated that Father Chen is strict, so he can only use this method." Fang Yong told Bai Yiqiao, "Don't believe what people like Li Guozi say. Which girl in the village doesn't take a detour when she sees him? Chen Ermiai is not so stupid to have a relationship with such a person." When Bai Yiqiao heard Fang Yong's words, she was immediately unhappy. She always felt that there was an inseparable connection between Fang Yong and Chen Ermiai. After all, these two people were husband and wife in their previous life and had children. Although she was not worried, Bai Yiqiao said with a smile, "So you know Chen Ermiai very well?" "It's not that I know. If Chen Ermiai didn't degrade herself, she wouldn't have interacted with Li Guozi like this. Li Guozi is not someone a woman can entrust her life to," Fang Yong said with a smile. Fang Yong pinched Bai Yiqiao's white and smooth face. "Why do I feel that you are jealous? You're my wife. Chen Ermiai has nothing to do with me. I'm just talking about it." Bai Yiqiao patted Fang Yong's hand away and pretended to be angry. "I'm not jealous. You're jealous." Chapter 866. Fang Yong didn't pursue the reason why Li Guozi came to his house. Fang Yong didn't ask why Li Guozi came to his house. After all, Li Guozi didn't go to the east house to touch the dog or go to the west house to steal chickens. Burglary was a very common thing. Bai Yiqiao breathed a sigh of relief and asked with jealousy, "Do you like people like Chen Ermiai?" Chen Ermiai was like a thorn in her heart. Bai Yiqiao could never forget that in her last life, Chen Ermiai was wearing brocade clothes and throwing money into her bowl. If it weren't for the death of her father, she wouldn't have fallen to the point of begging. In her last life, her eyes were high. Relying on the fact that she was the daughter of a scholar, she didn't get along well with her relatives. When she was down and out, no one helped her. In this life, Bai Yiqiao changed a lot, but the existence of Chen Ermiai was like a fishbone in her throat. Therefore, Bai Yiqiao was a little sensitive, especially when she heard the name of Chen Ermiai from Fang Yong's mouth. However, Bai Yiqiao wouldn't make a scene. She knew very well that men were tired of crazy and unreasonable women, so she questioned Fang Yong with a delicate and jealous appearance. Bai Yiqiao's appearance was very delicate and pretty. Her white skin was not like that of a peasant woman. Her body had a faintly discernible charm, which made Fang Yong like her very much. "If I can have a wife like Yiqiao, I won't care about other women," Fang Yong said. Fang Yong was really good to Bai Yiqiao. Fang Yong tried his best to do well inside and outside the house, so that Bai Yiqiao could do less. Such a charming wife, he really couldn't bear to let her be tired. However, Bai Yiqiao still helped to do things. Bai Yiqiao planned to be a loving husband and wife with Fang Yong. Naturally, they had to support each other and support Fang Yong's brilliant career. Fang Yong's mother, who had bad eyesight, was very obedient. Even if she encountered any grievances, or if Fang Yong's mother said something bad, Bai Yiqiao would endure it. After that, Fang Yong would be twice as good to her. Therefore, Bai Yiqiao was a very smart woman. In her last life, she experienced a complicated struggle in the backyard and benefited from it in this life. Ning Shu had a lot of things to do at home. He did some trivial things like cooking with Madame Li, Old Man Chen, and Chen Li wouldn't enter the kitchen. Cooking was something that the women did. Ning Shu was thinking about how to deal with Li Guozi. Li Guozi actually wandered around the Chen family. When he saw Ning Shu, he immediately licked his bare face and said some specious words. "How could you abandon me at Fang Yong's house? We had an agreement. After you left, I was beaten up by Fang Yong." Li Guozi said to Ning Shu coquettishly, "My body hurts." Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at Li Guozi indifferently. Li Guozi's appearance was really unpleasant to the eyes. There were vegetable leaves on his teeth. He looks like a toad. Not to mention his appearance, Guozi Li's extremely shameless character made Sister Chen want to commit suicide at that time. Although Sister Chen is not so beautiful and stunning, her facial features are good, her figure is moderate, and she is pleasing to the eye. When Li Guozi saw that Ning Shu was indifferent to his words, he was a little anxious. Li Guozi felt that he was not young and should marry a wife. Sister Chen was still good. Li Guozi knew that Chen family didn't like him, so he shouted to Ning Shu across the fence, "Sister, have you forgotten that we are in the same room?" We made an appointment. Ning Shu's expression was cold. Li Guzi really wanted to pour feces on her body all the time, and wanted to make her reputation unbearably bad. In the yard, Madame Li heard Li Guzi's mouth full of feces and her face was pale with anger. Li Guzi, if you dare to come to my house again and slander my sister, I won't spare you. Madame Li, Sister Chen's mother, hit Li Guzi with a broom. While dodging Madame Li's broom, Li Guzi shouted shamelessly, "My sister and I like each other. Auntie Li, we are both surnamed Li. We are from the same family." Li Guzi's behavior attracted a lot of people to watch. Madame Li was so angry that her body trembled. "I will tear your mouth." It was an eye-opener for Ning Shu. How could a person be so shameless? Li Guzi was so noisy that someone must have given him advice. Ning Shu stroked Madame Li's back and looked at Li Guzi. "Li Guzi?" "Yes." Li Guzi immediately replied with a smile. Ning Shu said, "I never made an appointment with you in any room. It was you who went to the Fong family by yourself. There were many daughters-in-law and girls in the Fong family that day. Did you peep at them? How did you get into the Fong family's room?" Ning Shu was indifferent. "The door was locked. How did you get in?" "We had an agreement." Li Guzi said anxiously, "We did that." When Li Guzi said that, Ning Shu suddenly felt that many people were looking at him with subtle eyes. Ning Shu pursed his lips. He opened and clenched his fists. Ning Shu really wanted to kill Li Guzi. Ning Shu said calmly, "In the Fong family's sister-in-law's house? Do you think the Fong family's sister-in-law's house is a brothel or a red light district? Why do you think we met in the Fong family's sister-in-law's house?" "Li Guzi, if you don't make it clear, our family will ask Li Jing to deal with this matter." Ning Shu said, "We have to prove the Fong family's sister-in-law's innocence. How could she allow you to enter her house?" Li Guzi immediately said, "Fang Yong's wife didn't know at all. We made an appointment." "Son of a bitch, you have to slander my daughter like this." Mrs. Li hit Li Guzi with a broom. "What kind of rotten person are you? Don't we all know that my daughter is involved with you?" Li Guzi was unhappy at once. "Auntie, I'm not happy when you say that." "I don't care if you're happy or not." Mrs. Li hit Li Guzi's face with a broom and Li Guzi screamed. Ning Shu looked at Li Guzi silently. He was determined to pour feces on her. In order to dispel a rumor, another rumor had to be created. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at Fang Yong and Bai Yiqiao, who were walking towards him. Bai Yiqiao was wearing a pleated skirt, a brightly colored blouse, and a delicately embroidered vest. Her face was delicate, with a charming and immature feeling of being a woman for the first time. She was not inferior to those little wives of big families. She was particularly different in the gray crowd. The fabric Bai Yiqiao was wearing was not very good, but she was good at using some small accessories and embroidery to make her clothes beautiful. Many men's eyes were looking at Bai Yiqiao. Fang Yong stared at Li Guzi and said in a low voice, "Are you making trouble again?" Seeing Fang Yong, Li Guzi shrank a little. He felt that the place where Fang Yong hit him was painful again. He said in a low voice, "I didn't. I came to find Chen Ermiai. Don't look for others. What kind of virtue do you have? If you want to make trouble again, I'll take care of it." Fang Yong said coldly. Bai Yiqiao frowned tightly. What did Fang Yong mean? Why did he care about Chen Ermiai? Why? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.